Hello and good morning. Today we are talking about the primary elections that happened all across America yesterday, specifically in California, because it is a very contentious and tight race. We are talking also about Rick Chow, the developments of the Rick Chow case, an Asian man who shot a 14-year-old black man, and how the black community is not only lying, but their response to it has been overblown and crazy. We're also heading over to Korea, virtually, to talk about the Korean elections that also happened yesterday, the results, what to learn from it, but also the evidence and the claims of election fraud. And then we turn our eyes towards the internet. We see a huge meme that went crazy viral about how women do not block their rapists. Very curious. We're also talking about Adam22 and Lena the Plug, which is very disgusting to talk about. But we must talk about it because it's a sign of our degenerating culture and their divorce and how cuckoldry is not a viable solution for the future of families. And lastly, we're also talking about how the black community, if you go to Black Food Reels and TikTok, you're going to see a lot of weird concoctions with Kool-Aid. All of that and more coming up on The Kongmin Lee Show. Hello and good morning. It is currently June 4th, 2026. Hope you guys are all having a blessed week and a great week. It is almost Friday, so stay tuned there. Stay tuned there. Stay in the fight. Stay strong if you are working at a company and slaving away, doing all the things to pay your bills. We love you. We support you. We see you. I am your host, Kongmin Lee of The Kongmin Lee Show. This is where we talk about faith, identity, and civilization, restoring all of those great things from east to west. And yeah, we are talking today about very contentious issues. Now, if you know anything about me, I am a pretty chill guy. I don't know, maybe you can tell from my demeanor. I'm not a guy who seeks contention. I'm not a guy who likes to rage bait people quite often. Sometimes it can be fun on the internet. But overall, I like to be cordial. I'm a cordial guy. I'm a friendly guy. I like to say hi to people, get along with a lot of people. But alas, the reality is our culture, our modern society has deteriorated so far. People have lost their minds so much to the point where I can't help but engage in the fight. I can't just stay and sitting on the sidelines doing nothing while the most pernicious and sinister people in society run amok with lies and deception. Now, as per usual, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell. Do all of those things if you're watching over on YouTube. Give your super chats. Give me your money. No, I'm just kidding. That sounds so terrible. But if you like what we're doing over here and what we're building over here on The Kongmin Lee Show, make sure to become a member to support what we're doing. We're doing member-exclusive content and live streams very soon. But also consider putting in a super chat. Give a super chat. We read your super chats at the end of the show, and we will answer any questions you have at the end of the show. The show is also on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Make sure to leave a 5-star review there. And without further ado, we are talking about what's going on in America in Westwatch. So if you have been living unless you've been living under a rock, you have heard the story. So in May 28, 2003, there was a man, a 61-year-old Chinese man, I believe, Asian man named Rick Chow, who runs a Shell convenience store, gas station, over in Columbus, South Carolina, specifically in Richland County. And he got into an altercation with a young black teen, a 14-year-old black teen named Cyrus Carmack Belton. And the altercation led to him shooting Cyrus Carmack Belton. And here's the thing. I know there's always a lot of people who say play stupid games, win stupid prizes. And sometimes I am of that inclination. But when it's a young teen, when they die, I do think it is a tragedy. So I'm not gloating over this young man, Cyrus Carmack Belton's death. But what I am saying is that the biggest thing that the black community needs to take away from this is not that Asians are just targeting and going open fire all over a black America. But what they need to take away is that maybe if you clean up your act, if you took some accountability, and if you made life better for yourselves and your community, things will get better. Now, let's talk about the facts. Let's talk about what is going on, what actually happened, all the details and the evidence of the case. Then we will outline why the black community is wrong and misinformed. And also, their direction, their energy is misdirected into the worst and the most negative possible outcome. So let's talk about this. So this happened, of course, we outlined in May of 2023 in South Carolina. And in this county, Richland County in Columbus, is a very, very predominantly black neighborhood. So this county has over 50%, higher estimates, 50% black community. It's a diverse community, but predominantly black. And what happened as a result? So in that incident, right? Well, to give a little background, this is a high crime neighborhood. There's a lot of shoplifting. Hundreds of crimes are reported to police every single year. Hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds. So it's a pretty high crime neighborhood. So you can see this is Rick Chow. He is on edge. He is constantly dealing with these type of people. But ultimately, what happened in the case? What happened in, well, the incident. So basically, this kid, Cyrus, comes in and he grabs 4 bottles. And then so when he comes in, he has a backpack. Rick Chow's wife tells him to put the backpack down. He puts it down. He abides. Okay, that's great. And then he takes 4 water bottles, but then he places them back. So he actually didn't steal any water bottles, by the way. But Rick Chow and his son, they thought he did. And he said, I didn't steal anything. And then he started running, right? So here's the thing. First of all, if you didn't steal anything, there's no reason to run. But I understand, okay, maybe you're a 14-year-old young black teen and you're scared. You might be scared. Fine. I'll give you that much. But after that, he ran, he dropped his gun, and then he picked it back up, right? So if you're in a chase and if you're really innocent, I get it. Maybe it's your belongings. Fine. But then he picked it back up. And then after that, he pointed his gun back at Rick Chow and his son, and then Rick Chow shot in self-defense. And now people say he got shot in the back. Well, yeah, and then the defense proposed that he turned around after pointing the gun, which is also a plausible case, and then he was shot and he was killed. And now the gun was found on his body, and even the prosecution admitted that while he might have dropped the gun during the chase, he picked it back up. Now, here's the thing. If you're truly scared, I understand. Maybe you want to pick it back up for self-defense. But I don't know why you're running. You have nothing to be ashamed of or scared of because you didn't steal what you were accused of being. You didn't steal anything. They accused you of stealing. You didn't steal anything. You're innocent. But I get it. High stakes, high tensions, all of that stuff. But here's the thing. The black community now is saying it's Rick Chow hunting young black people. That Asians are going around hunting black people. And here's the thing. In court trials, the prosecution was going for a murder charge. So they had to prove murder. But the jury, all they had to do is either prove or rule guilty or not guilty. And clearly, there was a reasonable doubt of murder. All the defense had to do was prove reasonable doubt on murder. And in South Carolina, in order to prove murder charges, it has to be shown that the killing was done with malice, right? With intention, with malice, harboring hatred, ill will, and wanting to kill the other person. But because of the gun in the young man's possession, the jury ruled that there was reasonable doubt that this was murder. Therefore, he was acquitted on the murder charges. This is why from the get-go, the fact that the prosecution sought murder charges instead of maybe involuntary manslaughter, that's really what I think, in my opinion, won the case. Because if it was manslaughter, then yeah, maybe he would have gotten punished. He wouldn't have gotten acquitted. But they were seeking murder when, in the case, they proved that the murder, there was reasonable doubt. There was reasonable doubt because he not only had a gun on him, but after he dropped it, he picked it back up. And now it's just about a case of he said, she said. And then also the eyewitnesses, these eyewitnesses, it was all in the spur of a moment, right? And then all the eyewitnesses who testified in terms of what they saw in the incident were black. Now, I'm not going to ascribe any motives to the eyewitnesses, but we already know that certain people in certain communities, they look out for each other and they overlook the worst crimes. And plus, at the same time, when you're looking at the incident, it looks bad. An older Asian man with a gun pointed at a young black guy who just shot. Our memories can get a little fadey and a little distorted when we're talking about these issues and we're recollecting our memories about certain very high stake, high emotional issues, high stress times as well. So that's what happened, essentially. And then also, it's funny because they say it's like a symptom of white supremacy and that the jury was racist against blacks, but there were multiple black jurors as well. So that just disproves the narrative. But that's the case. That's the totality of it. I hope I summarized it pretty well for you guys. I try to be fair. I looked into the court documents and I looked into all of it. So yes, he didn't steal. So if there was anyone who got the impression that he did steal, I do take that back. I thought he stole, but looking at the evidence, he actually didn't steal anything. He didn't have any of the stolen items on him at the moment of death. But he did have a gun on him. And he did pick up that gun after he was chased down. And so it was really a matter of he said, she said. And at the end of the day, the jury found that, okay, the possibility that Rick Chow was just defending himself and his son is high, or there even is a possibility. So therefore, it's not murder. You can say it's involuntary manslaughter. You can say it's manslaughter, but you can't say that it's murder. Now, what are black people saying? What are black people saying? Well, one thing that black people keep saying is that he was targeting Cyrus Carmick Belton because he has a history. Rick Chow has a history of shooting black people. Now, this is not true. He doesn't go around trying to shoot black people. But the two cases they referenced in 2015, he fired multiple shots at a female shoplifter's vehicle, and this female shoplifter stole beer and threatened him after a struggle. No one was injured, but she stole beer and she threatened him after a physical altercation. So yes, he is 100% justified in shooting the vehicle. Yeah, 100%. What do you want him to do? You just allow people to steal from a convenience store? It's ridiculous. And then also in 2018, he shot a male shoplifter who stole oven cleaner. Out of all the things to steal. Okay, out of all the things to steal, you could have stolen some bread, you could have stolen a drink if you're hungry, you're thirsty. No, he stole an oven cleaner. And he stole the oven cleaner and assaulted Rick Chow. What do you think Rick Chow's going to do? He's going to shoot him, okay? And he got shot in the leg. He didn't die. And both of these instances, the race of the shoplifters and the assaulters were not revealed, but I think we can assume who they were. Granted, the racial demographics and the kind of behavior that we see exhibited time and time again from this particular community. And so, of course, he's on edge, okay? Like, he's had multiple shoplifting incidents where he had to shoot in retaliation, in self-defense. Of course, he's going to be on edge constantly. And so that's just ridiculous. But yeah, now they have this narrative that they're just going around shooting black people open season. This guy has been targeting the black community for years. This is just not true. Now, if we have the video pulled up, Rick Chow's convenience store was then raided, looted, ransacked, and had vandalized with graffiti all over. Now take a look at this. It's just horrific.
Water bottles. That's what the little boy died. Because of water bottle. He stole a water bottle.
Hey,
$0.89 water he lost his life for. That's crazy.
sorry for the
Plenty of water bottles. Now water so free is crazy. They stole all the cigars, the Newports, the lottery
Hey,
tickets,
he's
everything.
still on the ground.
There's a whole case of Heineken still on the ground.
Wow.
Trashed it. Bang. Okay, so the store is broken.
So that's what his convenience store looks like now. That's what the gas station looks like now. And it's very sad. These people, they don't care about justice. They don't care about equality under the law. They don't care about impartiality and fairness. They don't care about all of these things that they tout and the liberals tout that they believe in. It's all about finding excuses to riot and to loot. You really think that they wanted justice for this young man? If you want these kind of incidents and these tragedies to stop, one thing you have to do is clean up your own community. Fix your own house. Why, first of all, why is a 14-year-old young man carrying around a handgun? Now, people might say, there's a Second Amendment. What do you have a problem with? Why are you carrying around a handgun? Okay, fine. You can carry around a handgun. Then why are you pointing it at the store owner if you think he has accused you wrongfully of stealing? Why would you do that? And even if he, per se, in that specific incident, was innocent, we have a plethora of incidents, examples, stories, anecdotes of black people stealing, looting, robbing, killing, brutalizing Asians. So do you think that Asians are just unjustifiably, with no reason whatsoever, having a stereotype against black people and always being on edge against black people, especially urban black people? No, that's not what's happening. Asians are just, oh yeah, we just hate black people because of the color of their skin. That's just not what's happening. They're being judged and they're being assessed by the content of their character and by their behavior. Behavioral patterns we see from this community time and time again. So here's one thing that they keep doing. They keep crafting this narrative about how, Asian men, Asian people, older Asian folks are just targeting and killing black teens and young black youth. And so the two examples they always look to is Latasha Harlins and Cyrus Karmic Belton. Now, if you know anything about Latasha Harlins, we know this case with Cyrus Karmic Belton, his name's so long, that it happened in 2023, so it happened 3 years ago. But Latasha Harlins, this is a case that happened in 1991. Now, if we have the post pulled up, do we have the post pulled up? All right, so anyways, while producer E pulls up the post of Latasha Harlins, what you have to know is about even Latasha Harlins. She was a 15-year-old black girl who was shot and killed by a Korean store owner in Koreatown in 1991. Her name was Sun Da-ju. So in Korean, it's Tu Sun-ja. And then so basically, if you know anything about this case, they say that she just shot a black girl unprovoked. But this was just not the case. They said she shot her over a bottle of juice. Well, it wasn't just a bottle of juice. Okay? Harlins hit Soon in the face twice with the glass bottle and punched her, knocking her to the ground. Then Soon shot the fleeing Harlins. Okay, so it wasn't like, oh, you took some orange juice, or she was innocent. She stole the orange juice and took the juice bottle and hit her over the head, and it punched her. So, like, what do you want her to do? And then, of course, Sun Ja-du, in retaliation, shot her in self-defense. And so, actually, she wasn't unpunished. She was actually convicted of voluntary manslaughter and sentenced to 5 years of probation, 10 years of suspended prison, 400 hours of community service, and payment of a $500 fine, and Harlan's funeral costs. And then after that, the black community in LA destroyed her store, burned it to the ground through arson during the 92 riots, and it never reopened. So her life was completely destroyed. Her livelihood completely destroyed. For what? Because she shot in self-defense against Latasha Harlins, who was violent against her. Now, these are two cases that they show. And even if these two instances, they were innocent, which they were not, provably so, It's one incident from 1991 and one incident from 2023. So these are the only two. These are the only two incidents where they can look to for examples of black youth being targeted by Asians. Now, as an Asian, how many examples can I pull up? How many examples can I pull up of the past, not only couple of years, but the past year of black people attacking Asians? It is countless. It is innumerable. How many times have black people gone into Asian nail salons, caused a ruckus, assaulted, beating up Asians? We have a video right here of a black woman who was denied EBT, using EBT to get her nails done, and then she assaults the hair salon owner and the nail salon owner as a result. Look at this. So this happens. This happens regularly. This happens regularly in the black community to Asian businesses. So we want to talk about black on Asian crime. This is what they always say. They keep saying that black people are attacking Asians. Is that really true? Do we want to pull up the statistics? Let's pull up the statistics. This is from the Bureau of Justice Statistics from the DOJ itself, okay? This is interracial violent crimes from 2017 to 2021, according to the DOJ. Black on Asian crimes account for 94.2% of the crimes. 191,970 instances versus Asian on black crimes only account for 5.8% and 11,850 instances. Who's attacking who right now? Who's attacking who? And not only that, Asians, right? This Asian umbrella encompasses everyone. Everyone from Iran to China, from Korea to Afghanistan, okay? Like this is, everyone is Asian because Asian is just a big umbrella of people who come from Asian. If you're Polynesian, if you're Sri Lankan, heck, maybe, I think even Russian is categorized under here because Russia is technically in Asia. This is the statistics. So this doesn't even encompass what they're talking about typically when they're saying Asians. These black people say, don't shop at Asian-owned businesses. They say, that these Asians are attacking us. They're typically talking about East Asians, right? Chinese, Korean, Japanese. But yeah, this is the statistics. These are the stats. You want to talk about who's attacking Asians and who's attacking who? Let's be real. Let's be real. And they never think, okay, why do Asians have a certain stereotype and a view against our community? Well, maybe because of this. Maybe because all over the country, wherever you go, in every single city, the Asian store owners, business owners, restaurant owners have encountered a certain degree of crime from black people. Now, here's the thing. I don't say that all black people are responsible for this. This is not something that I claim. And this is something I never say online, that every single black person is responsible for this. But when I say the black community writ large, I'm talking about the group that is urban, that commits degeneracy, crime, and excuses all of that in the name of black solidarity and looking out for their own, which is so ridiculous. Because this is the mentality that literally gets them nowhere, because they excuse every single crime, every single ounce of degenerate, dysfunctional behavior, and they protect that. They brand that as black culture. And then if you don't submit to that, if you don't literally get in line and act that way, then you're trying to act white. You're trying to be white. This is why they are also categorizing the lawyer of Rick Chow as a sellout, a traitor. Why? Because the lawyer of Rick Chow, he's a black man. He's a black lawyer. Yet they're saying that he is a sellout and he has all of these racial slurs and epithets because he defended Rick Chow impartially. And also, he's married to a white woman. This is what they're saying right here. This is the man who defended Rick Chow. He's also married to a white woman. And they blur out white as if it's like a slur. So yeah, his name is Sean Kent, I believe. But yeah, he was the lawyer. for Rick Chow, it was a black lawyer. And they're calling this man a sellout, a traitor, because he defended Rick Chow. So lawyers, upstanding lawyers, Supreme Court justices like Clarence Thomas, these are all, they say Uncle Toms. These are coons. That's what they say. Oh, yeah, but like the guy who encourages you to sleep with many baby mamas, have children out of wedlock, do drugs, shoot up people. Oh, yeah, those are cool. Those are my people. Those are my homies. Like, this is how dysfunctional they are. And so this is the kind of stuff that we're seeing all over the internet. You're also seeing tons and tons of examples of black people on the internet saying, let's stop shopping and patronizing Asian businesses. Let's stop using Asian merchandise. Screw Asian businesses. They're saying this all over the internet. Now, here's a news flash for you, buddy. The device that you're complaining on, the screen that you're looking at while you're complaining, that's all made by Koreans, Chinese, Japanese, is made by Asians. So good luck with that. The very device that you're airing your grievance politics and your false narratives on, they're all made by Asians, by the way. They're all made by Asians. So right here, look at these are an example of all these Asian-owned businesses. Jollibee, Huawei, Acura, Boston Dynamics, LG, Hyundai, Nvidia, Samsung, Toyota, Red Bull, Nintendo, Panda Express, SK Hynix, Suzuki, Honda, Subaru, Canon, Volvo, Lenovo, AMC Theaters, 7-Eleven, Panasonic, Nissan. Like, good luck. Good luck. Oh, I have an iPhone. Your screens are from LG. LG is a Korean company. So good luck. Good luck protesting and boycotting Asian businesses. Oh, by the way, I noticed that what is a black-owned business that we can't live without? What is a black technology that we can't live without? Yeah, exactly. This is why things are the way that they are. Because while Asians are focused on building businesses, building products, building infrastructure and civilization, large swaths of the black community are focused on what? Complaining and lying. Constantly demanding reparations. Constantly demanding that we all change our behaviors while they never have to change theirs. And then the very black people who call out this kind of behavior and say, hey, actually, maybe we shouldn't be excusing all kinds of criminal behavior and violent behavior. Oh, they're called sellouts and traitors, and that's just how it goes. And so this is so funny. And I think if you stop supporting Asian businesses, I think largely Asians would be glad so that they don't have to deal with the crazy Shaniqua who walks in, demands that you allow her to use EBT, and the EBT is denied to do her nails, and then she beats you up. The very people who shoplift, yeah, like maybe Asians actually will be better off without large swaths of black patronage. Because you don't have to now get into instances where now Rick Chow has to go in and get into this altercation. And by the way, Rick Chow, he was in prison for 3 years. For 3 years. While he waited for his sentence, for his trial, he waited 3 years in jail. He had no bail. He was denied bail. It is so ridiculous. He was denied bail for something that he did in self-defense for 3 years. He was rotting away in jail for 3 years, denied bail. While a black man can stab someone, shove someone onto the subway tracks, do all these heinous and crazy crimes, and they get low bail. Cashless bail. It is so unbelievable. And they claim that black people are oppressed by the justice system. No, this was ruled by a jury of their peers, by even other black people, that they found reasonable doubt that this was murder. But yeah, it's so unbelievable. So actually the justice system writ large is actually biased against whites and East Asians. And that's just the reality. So you can chalk it up that black people are so oppressed, but they're not. They're actually given preferential treatment in our justice system. And thank God the jury ruled justly in this case, because Rick Chow did nothing wrong. Even if you want to say he overreacted, it's a split-second decision when you have a gun pointed at you and your son, what are you going to do? Yes, you have the justification to shoot back in self-defense to protect yourself and your son. This is a done deal, and this is all I'll say about this. Okay, actually, the last thing I'll say about this is that if Asians are attacked or stolen from, if Asians are brutalized, and if black people go into Asian businesses and they shoplift, black people say the shooting isn't justified. They say, are you saying that this life is not worth as much as a glass of orange juice, a bottle of soda? You're saying that a bottle of water is worth more than a human life. That's what they say, right? But in the same vein, they'll say, if you say the N-word, we are justified in beating you up and killing you. If you say the very word that we all say in our regular vernacular every single day, we are justified in killing you and brutalizing you. How does that make any sense? So Asians can't act in self-defense when they're being brutalized or they're being stolen from. That's wrong. That's heinous. That's despicable, reprehensible. But then if we commit the terrible crime of saying the N-word without even like the hard R, we say the N-word, a word that black people say all the time. Oh yeah, the black people are apparently justified in retaliation and killing you. How does that make any sense? And this is just the state of black grievance politics. This is the state of American politics, broadly speaking. And multiculturalism, what a treat. What a treat. And so when people always tout the greatness of diversity, this is the result of it. This is the result. And they keep saying, like, I see this all the time from black Twitter. They always say, focus on your own problems, Asian. And they always call me ching chong and all these words and all these slurs. Okay, whatever. But they're like, focus on your own problems. We'll focus on ours. And I'm like, you can't even focus on your own problems because you don't call out your own problems. Oh, we'll police our own community. You don't even police your own community. You don't care. There are shootings that happen every single week in major cities all across America where young black children, actually like 5, 6-year-old, 7-year-old children, are shot in the face from gang turf wars, and you just shrug. You just shrug. You'll have young black girls sitting in the passenger seat or in the back seat of a car waiting in a McDonald's drive-thru, and then you have a random black hooligan come up and shoot her in the face. Really? You're policing your own community? Where's the outrage there? There's no outrage because you don't police your own community. You don't care about you don't really actually care about black lives, innocent black lives who are killed, shot, brutalized unjustly. Here's an example right here from Matt Von Swoll. In Atlanta, this happened just a few days ago. Police have identified a man who stabbed a man to death on a public train in Atlanta. His name is John Elijah Matthews, a black male. 66-year-old Margaret Swan was sitting alone in the train car when Matthews walked up to her and stabbed her in the throat in broad daylight. And look, if you go down, here's the video footage of not the incident, but him being apprehended. So he's being apprehended. And now, so Margaret Swan is not a white woman, by the way. She's a black woman. She's an innocent, sweet black lady. Like, if you want to talk about the kind of citizens that we want in American society, it's Margaret Swan, a sweet black grandma who did nothing wrong, who was minding her own business, sitting alone in a train car, and got stabbed in the throat. Do we have a picture of her? Can you pull up a picture of her? Go down. You can just go down. Yeah. You'll find a picture somewhere. Yeah, right there. Okay, so yeah, right here. She was a 60-year-old grandma just quietly seated on the train, minding her own business and harming no one. Where's the outrage here? Where is the outrage? And I'm not saying that all cases are equivalent, but arguably this justifies more outrage than the Rick Chow case. Why? Because she was innocent. She was minding her own business. She was minding her own business. She was just stabbed in the throat for no reason, but they'll ignore it. Why? Because it was a black man who did it. So don't tell me that you're going to police your own community. Don't tell me that you care about innocent black lives, because you don't. You don't. I think these cases are tragic. These are horrific. I actually grieve over this. This is tragic. She did no wrong. She was innocent. She was an upstanding citizen. She was minding her own business. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. And so I don't believe these people. I don't believe the black grievance liberals and these foundational black Americans, whatever they want to call themselves. I don't believe them for a second. I don't. Because they don't care when their people are killed by their own. So don't come up to me and say, like, for example, there was a shooting that happened, I think it was last month or a few months ago in Dallas, where a Korean shot up other Koreans. That was horrific. And I'm glad that guy is rotting in jail. Because why? That shouldn't happen. That shouldn't be allowed. We should prosecute that. We should prevent that as much as possible. Because why? Innocent Koreans shouldn't die at the hands of other Koreans. It's horrific. And then you saw the Korean American community gathered around and they mourned this tragedy. But what does the black community do? Maybe it's because it's so frequent, they don't do anything. They say nothing when their own is killed by their own. So I don't care. I have nothing to say more, really, because I think we all know we're just getting black fatigue. Black fatigue, not because they are black. No one hates people because of the color of their skin. That is such an elementary way to think about it. We live in the 21st century. We have the internet. We know that there are different groups of people that exist that are all made in the image of God. We all understand this. No one is denying this, okay? No one is denying this. You are not being judged by the color of your skin. You are being judged by the content of your character. Is that not that? Why is that so hard to understand? Why is that so foreign to you? Wake up, wake up. And I talk about this because it affects my people. Okay, when I say my people, I'm saying broadly speaking, innocent American citizens. Just people who want to live their lives, okay? The whole reason why I got into this thing in politics is because my life got flipped upside down because of the BLM movement. Because I didn't co-sign with the whole narrative about George Floyd, because I didn't donate and support BLM, my life got ruined. My life got absolutely ruined. And people were so... The moral panic and hysteria that happened during that time, all the friends that I knew, they completely lost their minds. They lost it. They lost their marbles. This is why. And everyone's being deceived into believing lies, completely believing all these false things. And then what happens as a result? Our legislation, the rule of law, the laws that govern us, the policies that govern us, corporate policy, HR policy, hiring practices, all of these things get transformed in order to cater to this small fringe minority. I'm not saying the majority of them, but a huge swath of them are violent, they're disruptive, and they all look over that. And if we call it out, we're called racist. Make it make sense. It makes no sense. All right, next story. So we had the U.S. primary yesterday. And yeah, I mean, there's not much to talk about, I think, in terms of this. I think one thing that is interesting is that in the governor's race, Steve Hilton is leading in the governor's race. So that's like a really, 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 that's a surprise to me. I would not think that a Republican would be leading in the governor's race. But Steve Hilton, right now, as it stands, he's a Republican running for governor in California, and he's the Trump-endorsed former Fox News commentator. And he led with 27... Sorry, and he's leading with 27.6%. He's leading with 27.6%. Do we have it pulled up? We should already have it pulled up. All right. And then he's followed closely by Xavier Becerra, who's the Democrat. He was a former AG and HHS secretary at 25.6%. Tom Steyer, a Democrat billionaire, was third at 19 and 20%. And so right now, let's see. This is what the results are right now, updated. Most recently, so Steve Hilton's at 28%. Xavier Becerra is at 26%. And Tom Steyer is at 20%. And Bianco's at 11%. So this is where it stands right now. This is actually really interesting. So the Republican is leading. Now, if you combine the Democrats versus the Republican votes, obviously the Democrats are by and large leading. And so when it goes to the runoff, then I think all the votes that didn't go to Becerra will probably go to Becerra at the end. And even if we got all the votes from Bianco to go to Hilton, it wouldn't be enough. But it's interesting. This runoff system it was designed to ensure one party rule, but all it shows is that California is actually a lot more red than you think it is. And if you took out all the illegal immigrants, if you even took out all the foreign-born immigrants, right? The foreign-born immigrants, the legal immigrants who are vastly opposed to American interests and hate America, then I think if you had California people, like people who are born and raised in California, and you had people who have like their roots in California, I think it would be a Republican landslide every time. I mean, think about it. California was like deep red until very, very recently. And so the only reason why California became deep blue was because of mass migration. The mass migration of foreign nationals and illegals. So you have tons of foreign nationals and illegals come in to vote in your elections with no ID verification, by the way. I voted in the primaries yesterday, and guess what? Did they ask for ID? You think they asked me for ID? Nope. Didn't ask for ID. In so many states, they don't ask for ID. Especially in blue states. They don't ask for ID. How ridiculous is that? You have to have an ID to drink. You have to not have an ID to drive. You have to have an ID to do any like important function in society, or even like the baseline functions in society. But arguably one of the most important civic duties, voting. Oh yeah, you don't need an ID. We don't need to verify you are who you say you are. Oh, you just say you're this person? Oh yeah, go ahead. Mail-in ballots? Oh yeah, we're just gonna give it to everyone. It is so unbelievably stupid. Why do we run this? And then they say that if we have voter ID, it's racist. Because black people can't get access to IDs. And I'm like, okay, first of all, if you don't have access, if you don't know how to get an ID, then maybe you shouldn't be voting in our electoral politics at all, because you have no idea what's going on. So you shouldn't have a say in the future direction of this country. But two, black people have IDs. What are you talking about? How do you think they drive? How do you think they buy things? How do you think they buy alcohol? Like, what? Of course they have IDs. So, unironically, and everyone says this, and obviously I'm not going to like buy into the framing of the left and say, oh, like the left are the true racist, but truly like the Democrats, the left are more racist, unironically more racist than the right is, as much as they accuse us of racism and all that nonsense. And so a lot of ballots still remain to be counted, but ultimately, this is where the gubernatorial race stands in California. Steve Hilton is winning. And if we just got rid of all the foreign-born immigrants and the illegals, I think it would be a Republican landslide every single time in California. California has the highest number of registered Republican voters. Like, while it is a very blue state because of all these immigrants, it's red. And it's the same thing in New York, right? If you only had New York people voting, people who were born and raised in New York voting, Republicans would win, or at the very least, Cuomo would have won in this past election and Mamdani would not have won. But it's because of the foreign-born immigrants who can vote, who can participate in our elections. That's why these people win. That communists, foreigners who hate America, they win because foreigners voting for them. So, and I say this as a foreign-born immigrant, as a Korean immigrant to America, that people who are not born in America, at the very least, right? At the very least, people who weren't born in America should not be able to vote in elections. I actually genuinely believe that. Why? Why should foreigners, naturalized foreigners, be able to vote in America's elections that dictate the rules that govern us and the leaders that govern us? Why? Like, give me a good reason. Like, should an American or a Chinese national or a random Pakistani who moves to Korea and becomes a naturalized citizen be able to vote in elections to vote for politicians and legislation? By the way, that's a real thing. If you're a resident in Korea and you're foreign born, as long as you live in Korea for 3 years, you're able to vote, which is pathologically insane. And that passed in like 2005 or something, by the way, which is so ridiculous. Why should that be allowed? That shouldn't be allowed. Like, at the very least, only native-born American citizens should be able to vote. Or else what? It gives an incentive for people like the Democratic Party to flood the country with permanent voters. And that's what immigrants have become, by and large. Yes, we have immigrant patriots who love America and vote Republican and vote for the GOP. I get that. But the most liberal demographic, other than black people and Jewish people in America, are immigrants. They're immigrants. And so, yeah, you create a permanent voting block for a country, for a party, a political party in a country, when you guarantee that citizens are able to vote. Like, why would you even allow that? So as a legal immigrant, I'd be willing to give up my right to vote if Democrats can't get into power. Like, that's just a given. I hate the Democrats. Now, I don't like the Republicans all that much either because a lot of them are establishment. They're milquetoast. They don't get anything done. But the one who's actually moving the ball down the field and changing the narrative and shifting the Overton window is the Trump administration, and it is Trump himself. Now, of course, I criticize Trump many times, but the reality is that is true. Before Trump, no one was talking about nationalism versus globalism. Before Trump, no one was talking about mass immigration. They were talking about it, but it wasn't a subject of contention and the main focal point of politics. It has now. No one was talking about restricting free trade and shifting the American economy not to be a member of the global economy, truly, but to be one that caters to American workers first. No one was doing this before Trump. And Trump was the one who came in and changed the dynamics of political discourse. So yeah, but I would vote for Trumpian American first politicians. And I vote for them, of course. But if I were to give up my vote and that would guarantee that Democrats never get into power again, absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, you're such a self-hating immigrant. Not really. Not really. Who's the one releasing these violent criminals? These repeat violent criminals out into the streets who are attacking Asians? Who are the ones discriminating against Asians in hiring practices and colleges? Who are the ones who are teaching gender discrimination and LGBTQ, who are hating men, right? They hate men, gender discrimination. They're teaching the LGBTQ stuff. They're trying to chop off, right, the genitals of young children, mutilate them, chemically and physically castrate them. They want to kill all children in the womb from the moment of conception to the moment of birth. That's the Democrats, okay? I don't want that. Like, I don't want that in this country, okay? So the Democrats are at a place where they're not even about, we want to achieve the same goals of prosperity and healthy families. We just have a different way about going about it. No, it's not about just, oh, we want more health care for people. That's not the Democrats anymore. The Democrats today are not the Democrats of 20, 30 years ago. They want abortion up until the moment of birth. They want to teach our youth and everyone transgenderism. They want pride everywhere. They want to give preferential treatment to certain minority groups, namely black and browns versus whites and East Asians. By the way, I think that's so stupid. Like, the left is actually unironically judging people more based on the color of the skin than we do. Why? Because if you are of a darker skin tone and complexion, you're black or brown, you inherently get certain rights and privileges given to you by the left and preferential treatment given to you by the left versus if you have a lighter skin complexion, like if you're white or if you're Asian. Now, that's why they have the whole white Hispanic thing. Remember Trayvon Martin and George Zimmerman? They're like, he's white Hispanic, so he's one of them. Meanwhile, like Hispanics supposed to be part of BIPOC, like the BIPOC coalition, all that stuff. It makes no sense. But anyways, all that being said, California, if Republicans want to win in California, like Trump needs to do what he needs to do, and he needs to carry out mass deportations in California. Send in ICE, send in the National Guard. You have to. There's a foreign invasion happening in California. And that's not me saying I want to escalate and elevate political contentions and violence. But the reality is, if you have a foreign invasion in your own soil, you are justified using military force to get the foreigners out. And people might say, oh, that's so mean. Dude, politics is ugly. Okay, politics is ugly, which is why it was never traditionally the realm of women. But we have to stop with this whole like school marming, nagging attitude. I'm like, that's so mean. Well, first of all, you have to get to the base of the question. Do they belong here or not? And if they're not going to naturalize, if they're not going to assimilate, and they hate this country and everything it stands for, and they're aligned with a foreign country, then yeah, like they have no business being here. And that's okay. That's not hateful. And so if they're not going to get out, like getting them out is the duty of the government. So now, all that being said, let's narrow it down a bit to the mayoral race. So the LA mayoral race, incumbent Karen Bass is obviously advancing to the general election, to the runoff, because she has the most votes right now, 35% right now. Spencer Pratt is sitting at 30%, and Nithya Raman is sitting at 23%. Now, her name is spelled R-A-M-A-N, not R-A-M-E-N, like the noodles ramen. But yeah, I don't know. Why would you vote for this chick? She's a far left, like socialist. Like she's actually communist. But that's the thing. Is she an immigrant? Heck yeah, she is. She's an Indian immigrant. And all these Indians, the naturalized Indians are so left-wing. It is actually insane. I am hard-pressed to find a right-wing Indian in America. It's actually hard to find them. And if I find them, they like me, by the way. My Indian brothers and my Indian patriots here in America, they all really like me because they all know I don't hate Indians because they're Indian. I don't hate anyone because they are of a certain ethnicity. I don't do that. But what I do despise is predatory practices, Indian ethnic nepotism that disenfranchises American workers and replaces them with cheap labor overseas and imports them, the replacement of Americans in America, the exaltation and the building of Hindu statues and temples in America, where America is a Christian nation. It's a nation that should honor Christ. That's what I have a problem with. But I have no problem with Indians themselves. But yeah, this is what we get. We get Indian immigration. We get Indians who assimilate. And this is actually a broader point of assimilation into American culture today, where you have to assimilate to the proper cultures. And actually, immigrants are assimilating, by the way, but they're assimilating to the liberal left-wing cultural hegemony. So they're not assimilating to traditional American customs and traditions. They're assimilating to American progressivism. So that's a sign of how dysfunctional American society is today, but also that the sign of a really, really dying society is dysfunctional assimilation. And this is what it looks like. It's dysfunctional. It's very disordered, and it's something that we don't want. Like, we want immigrants to assimilate to American traditional political culture. We don't want them to assimilate to American progressive communist culture. And that's what they are. And so that's why they're so left-wing. But the fact that this woman can run is it's like ridiculous. But Spencer Pratt, he is at 30%. Now, all that being said, I think Spencer Pratt is so popular because he's not running versus left versus right. He's running with a vision. Now, obviously, today, that kind of just means the right. Like, if you have practical solutions and you want things to improve in this country, that just automatically makes you right wing in this country. This is how you have people like Tulsi Gabbard or Robert F. Kennedy, or you have even like, I don't know, like people like Dave Rubin, right? Which I do not like, by the way. But it's like they're all considered right wing. Why? Because they like this country and they want things to improve and they actually have practical solutions, even if they differ on it. It's like they have solutions. At least they're trying to find a solution. Shoe on head. She is a literal leftist. She's a literal socialist. Yet she is found as being part of the right in America. Why? because she's not retarded and she actually wants solutions. While I disagree with some of her solutions, actually a lot of her solutions, especially economically, she actually has solutions. Or she's like, I actually care about families and I don't want society to fall apart. Oh, you're right wing, Shuan Head. You're just trying to cater to your gooner audience. Oh, it's so unbelievably unserious. But yeah, Spencer Pratt is running with a platform like, hey, here are the solutions that I have for you. Here are the solutions. And that's why he is so popular right now. He is so popular. But unfortunately, leftist brain rot, leftists, liberals, all these immigrants who actually, by the way, can't even speak English. A lot of them can't even speak English. They're voting in this election because they're like, oh, automatically you have a D next to your name? All right, I'm going to vote for you because you care about me. Meanwhile, Spencer Pratt is working his butt off campaigning, trying to talk to voters, mobilize voters. And by the way, if we can pull up the video of Spencer Pratt in Koreatown, he is the first mayoral candidate in years to come to Koreatown. He was the first one to come to Koreatown, talk to Koreans in Koreatown about their issues, the things that they need in order to live a prosperous, fulfilling, safe life in LA. He's the only one. Spencer Pratt is the only one. All of these Democrats have beat their chest about, oh yeah, stop Asian hate. And they beat their chest about happy NHPI month, right? Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander month. They always talk about this, right? Let's watch this video real quick. This is
person.
Spencer Pratt in Koreatown.
Racism as our mayor. There's no place in our community for hatred and racism. No. Spencer.
Jeez. I was going to bring this up in the debate. I didn't get a chance. You cannot say it's a miracle that Korean businesses burned down.
Just pass out.
Pass out on all this.
No, I decided to go. First, I don't want to, but now I'm gonna go.
Oh. There we go. It's on the top of the ballot. Makes it easy. You don't even have to look for my name. It's the top.
Yeah, so that's Spencer Pratt in Koreatown. He's the first one who's actually going to Koreatown to talk to Korean voters and Korean residents of LA. When's the last time a Democrat mayoral candidate did this? And so you think me as a Korean immigrant, I'm not going to like Spencer Pratt? Of course I'm going to like Spencer Pratt. You think I'm going to like Karen Bass, who not only watched whole neighborhoods in LA burn down the past few years, but also said the LA riots were a good thing, that Koreatown burned down, that Korean businesses burned down, were looted and destroyed? You think I'm going to vote for that person versus Spencer Pratt, who actually cares about the needs of all LA citizens regardless of their ethnicity or ancestry? That he comes to Koreatown and talks to the Koreans? You serious? It's a no-brainer. Spencer Pratt all the way. Heck yeah. He cares about America. He cares about LA residents. He loves this country. He loves his city. He loves his residents and the citizens of LA. He doesn't just posture about it or virtue signal about it. He actually goes and meets the people where they're at. Heck yeah, this guy is the guy for us. Not only as Korean Americans in America, but he is the guy for LA who's going to fix the problems, who's going to clean up the streets to make it livable again. My gosh, if you guys know, I graduated from USC, so I went to school in LA. Go Trojans. And I had a great time there, but the thing is, I saw over the times that I was in LA, I saw it progressively get worse. But now it's worse than I ever imagined it could be. So when I was in LA, I've been threatened multiple times by drug-addled homeless people that if I don't give them money, they're going to kill me. That happened, I think, at least 10 times. I lost count. It happened so much. It's sort of like a regular occurrence. But now, like literally now, you go to LA, you go to USC, you'll find homeless people in the campus. Like that's how bad it's gotten. There's a section of USC called USC Village, which is where a lot of students live. A lot of dorms are there, a lot of restaurants, and there's a Target there, and it's just like an overall hangout area at USC. I remember I went recently, and they're just homeless people just like stinking up the place and just there with their needles. Like, I'm like, bro, what are we doing here? Like, it is such a nightmare. It is so bad that right now in LA, they're like testing and like injecting fentanyl into dogs. Right now, here, new, homeless addicts on Skid Row in LA are now using dogs to treat their drugs for fentanyl. to test their drugs for fentanyl. They feed the dogs the drugs first. The dog survives, they take it themselves. If not, they just get another dog. Oh my gosh. Look at this. Look at this video. Like literally they're injecting the dogs. They're tying them up, injecting them with fentanyl. Like, LA is just so disgusting now. It is so disgusting. All right, you can stop playing. So that's what it looks like. They literally don't even, they lock up the dogs in cages. They cover the cages with what is that called? It's like you use it. I remember you use it for like when you're painting and things like that. Tarmac paper or something. I don't know. My mind is going blank right now. But yeah, they literally don't even allow the dogs sunlight. They don't give the dogs sunlight. They keep them trapped in cages while they inject them with fentanyl on Skid Row. Where's PETA? Where is PETA? PETA should be on the front lines advocating for and like campaigning for Spencer Pratt. Because Spencer Pratt is the one who was like, you know what? They're actually testing fentanyl on dogs. Did you know that? We got to save our dogs. Where's PETA? Where's PETA? Ah, you don't care because it's not actually about caring for animal rights. It's just so ridiculous. Like, LA's so disgusting. Los Angeles used to be arguably the peak of American civilization. You see footage of LA back in the past. Like, it was just so beautiful. It was clean. It was orderly. People were just having a good time, right? They're building things. They're building wealth and businesses, art, culture. It was the cultural epicenter of America for years and arguably the world for decades. Los Angeles, the city of angels. Here, look at this. Look at this. This is what it looked like. Yeah, if you can turn the volume down. Can you turn the volume off? So, yeah, you see here, like, it's clean, it's orderly. You don't see homeless, like, drug-addicted people on the streets threatening people. You don't see tents anywhere. And this is just from 30 years ago. This is just from 20, 30 years ago. 60, 70 years ago? Oh, 6, 7. I'm just kidding. I'm so sorry. It was so much. It's just so delightful. Like seeing footage of old LA, people in suits. They're just all like, they have decorum. They present themselves with dignity and honor. They're orderly. I mean, it's just LA used to be safe. LA used to be good. LA used to be great. And this is what we mean when we say make America great again. Like, we lost a civilization. We are a dying, decaying civilization, desperate to hold on to the vestiges of the past. This is what it used to look like. And so vote Spencer Pratt. Vote Spencer. I just do not understand why LA people are voting for the very mayor who allowed their city to burn down. Like the whole Pacific Palisades burned down under her watch, and she did nothing. She did nothing to remedy it. She did nothing to address it. It is so unbelievable. So wake up, vote Spencer Pratt. Do not allow LA to die. Now, the reality is probably all the votes that went to Miss Ramen, Miss Noodles over there, it's probably going to Karen Bass, unfortunately. But if there's any hope in the next coming weeks and months, like, we need to constantly advocate for Spencer Pratt. Like, that, not that he is like a Trumpian Republican, like, that's not going to resonate, I believe, with LA people, but that he cares to solve the problems of LA residents. and that he cares to clean up the streets and address all the issues and the problems that LA residents find themselves in the dystopia that LA has become. I love LA. LA is great. It's a beautiful, wonderful city. It's just being destroyed by these communists who want to destroy everything that we love and we cherish. Because why? It gives them a sense of pleasure because they're evil. They're evil people. They're wicked people. And all they are, they're opportunists who want to live off suckling the teat of the taxpayer while they destroy you and your community. So do not vote for these people. Don't even give them an inch, even a moment of your time. Democrats. I do not like Democrats. I don't even think there's a single Democrat that I like. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Even the Korean Democrats in Congress, like freaking Andy Kim. Oh, awful. Just terrible. So, moving on. Let's talk about Korea. This is a very contentious issue, but very important to talk about. Let's talk about the Korean elections. If you didn't know, the Korean elections were yesterday, so June 3rd. June 3rd is basically a federal holiday, a national holiday in Korea where a lot of people don't go to work. Most people don't go to work, and they get the day off to vote, which is very different than America because in America, you have to vote and you still have to go to work on election day where, I have mixed feelings about that because while I think that mass democracy isn't healthy for society, at the same time, if you do have democratic norms and everyone does have the ability to vote, then maybe it is a good thing to have people take off that day to vote and express their concerns, make their voices heard. But all that being said, the Korean elections happened yesterday at the same day that the primary elections happened in America. Now, the results were unfortunate. It was basically a DBK landslide. Now, the DBK is the Democratic Party of Korea, which is the left-leaning party, and they control most of the levers of power. They're the biggest political party in Korea. And then second biggest party in Korea is the PPP party. Now, this is terrible. I don't know why they had the acronym that way. The PPP, I guess it doesn't have the connotation in Korea that it does in America. PPP. I mean, it just sounds it doesn't sound great. But anyways, the PPP is the People Powers Party. It's the conservative party in Korea, and it's the second largest party. And you can kind of think of the Democratic Party in Korea as the Democrats in America, and the People Power Party as the GOP in America. So that's kind of analogous. Now, I want to be very clear. Left and right in Korea are very different. They're very different. And now there's a lot of people on the internet who are pissed about me saying that I know nothing about Korean politics. And I'm not going to be the one who says I'm an expert in Korean politics. I'm still learning. I'm still growing. I'm still reading and watching and listening. That's what I'm doing. But yeah, I do know Korean politics, which is why I am talking about it. And which is why I'm shifting my content to also give my audience and my viewers the know-how and everything you need to know about Korean politics, because this is something that does interest me not only as a Korean immigrant to America, but, I think, think about Korea. Korea is on the world stage right now. People love Korea. They love Korean dramas. They love Korean movies. They love Korean culture and food. It is popping off. So Korea has a lot of power economically and culturally. And so what happens in Korea is actually very important also for what happens in America, because South Korea is one of America's strongest allies in the fight for freedom and in the fight for just goodness and truth and beauty, I would say. So now, the results. Let's talk about the results. The Democratic Party of Korea, the DBK, they got 7 additional positions. So literally, they flipped nine positions. They flipped 9 positions. I believe 7 used to be People Power Party. And then so they got Incheon, they got Busan, they got Ulsan, they got Daejeon, Sejong, Gyeonggi, Gangwon, Cheongnam, Cheongbuk, Jeonbuk, Gwangju, Jeonnam, and Jeju. So these are all provinces there. Incheon, Busan, Ulsan, Daejeon are cities, and they all flipped. So, and then the People Power Party, they didn't gain any provincial gubernatorial seats, or they didn't get any governor's positions or mayoral positions. They didn't gain any, but they defended Seoul. So they defended Seoul, which is huge. They actually defended the capital of Korea. So the mayor of this capital of Korea, the largest city in Korea, Seoul, is still a conservative. It's still Oh Se-hoon. He not controls, but he's in charge in Seoul right now. Daegu, which I was concerned in the beginning, it looked like Daegu, the People Power Party was losing in Daegu, but they held on. Mayor Chu Kyung-ho is still in charge. And in North Gyeongsang, so Gyeongsang-Bukdo, North Gyeongsang Province, the People Power Party held on to the governor position. And then the South Gyeongsang Province, Gyeongsang-Namdo, they held on to the governor position as well. And everything else, either it was a Democrat incumbent or it flipped Democrat. So all things being considered, you can say safely that this was a landslide for the Democratic Party of Korea. Now, Oh Se-hoon, he won by a very, very, very slim margin. If we can show how much he won by, well, these were just the exit polls that happened yesterday. So the exit poll yesterday, you can see, look at the demographics. The red is the People Power Party, and then the blue is the Democratic Party of Korea. Look at this. 75.3% of men in their 20s voted for the right. They voted conservative. 75.3%. That's like a crazy number. And even look at the woman. 41.4% voted conservative in their 20s. And then 30s, 59.7% voted for Oh Se-hoon, the Seoul incumbent mayor. So you see this. And then if you get to the 40s and 50s, actually they vote more Democrat. And then you go to the 60s and 70s, they're very, on the right. They're very conservative. Now, it's funny. It's funny because you'd think that with all the talk about the gender divide, which does exist to a certain extent in Korea, you think that women will vote overwhelmingly for Democrats, but they didn't. Look, it's just clear here. It's like half and half. It's half and half. The youth is on the conservative side. The youth is conservative. Because why? They don't want the destruction of their country. So it's really interesting. But do we have the final results of the mayoral race pulled up? So let's see if we have the final results. But basically, he won by a very, very, very slim margin. I think it was like 0.5% of the votes or something. It was an extremely, extremely small margin. All right, well, while producer E pulls that up, this is the state of Korea. Oh, I do have the numbers here. So Oh Se-hoon narrowly defeated the Democrat challenger approximately 49.15% to 48.13%. So literally, he won by 1%. Literally 1%. It was like so close. Now, what is the takeaway from this? Now, if you don't know anything about Korean politics, left and right are different, okay? Left and right in Korea is different than it is in America. The temperaments are the same. So left-leaning temperaments in Korea are similar to in America, where they're very pro-immigrant, they're like multicultural, they're feminist, they're open to LGBTQ and alternate lifestyles. They are progressive, like they want to change things. While the People Power Party, the conservatives in the right in America, are a little more traditional. Now, even that's changing right now, where they're evolving to be a little more like the left and right in America and in the West. But traditionally, the left were more like pro-China, pro-CCP, pro-North Korea. The right has been always pro-America and anti-communist, anti-China, North Korea, anti-CCP. But the left, broadly speaking, in Korea is also anti-America. Now, all of that is because of the Cold War. So a lot of Korean politics today is still held up in the Cold War dynamics and the Cold War dialectic. I think there's a lot of people in America who still hold on to that, but it's moving away from that, especially on online discourse and in genuine political debate. You see a lot of that moving away. Like, people aren't talking about left and right in terms of like communists versus democracy. Communism versus democracy, they're moving away from that. But South Korea is still very much within that dialectic. So that's kind of where we're at, where the left and right are, broadly speaking, defined by their opposition to one another and then opposition to certain forces and foreign entities and political ideologies. So the left and right both claim democracy. And if you know anything about the word democracy these days, it's just a euphemism and a stand-in word for legitimacy. This is why the Democrats, even in America, always talk about threat to democracy. It's just threat to our legitimacy, our rule. So both sides claim democracy. Both sides can't claim democracy, but it's just in different ways. So both sides claim democracy. The left says, oh, we are democratic. We opposed the military fascistic regimes of dictators in the past, like Syngman Rhee and Park Chung-hee and things like that. And you know, presidents like that who were arguably dictators. And the conservatives like them, by the way, which is a whole nother conversation. And so that's what they're like, oh, we are opposed to the military dictatorships of the pro-America peoples of the past. And then the right is like, no, we are anti the dictators, the communist dictators. We are pro-democracy against the communist dictators and communist forces. So both are like, we're against authoritarianism. It's just one is from the other side and the one is from, what the heck is this phone call going on? Let's turn this off. Sorry, technical difficulties as always. All right. Sorry about that. Now, so that's the dynamic right now in South Korea. They're opposed by their democracy is in their opposition to what they deem to be a threat to Korea. And then in terms of their foreign policy, the left is pro-China and pro-sunshine policy. It's like, we need to be good to North Korea. We need to get along with North Korea. And the right is, no, we're anti-China and we are anti-North Korea. Because the Korean conservatives, which they are right in this aspect, by the way, they still acknowledge that we are at war with North Korea. We are still technically at war. We signed an armistice, but we didn't sign a peace treaty. So we're still at war technically. Versus the left is a little more, again, like temperamentally the left is in America, where they're like, oh yeah, like we gotta live in peace and no war. It's like, yeah, like that's what they think. They're like, oh yeah, no war. As long as we're kind to North Korea, they'll listen to us. It's like, no, like that's just not a reality. Now, I think we need a little bit of a balance of both because right now as it stands, North Korea has nukes, South Korea doesn't. But yeah, so that's kind of what it is. And then the left is anti-America. The right is pro-America. That's kind of like what the dynamic is in a nutshell. And then when it comes to values, it's not very values driven like it is in America. Like immigration, abortion, family values, Christianity, those values are a lot more important in politics, I would say, than foreign policy. But it is trending towards that direction where the left is broadly more multicultural. Oh, we got to be good to foreign workers. We have to increase foreign worker visas, blah, 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 blah. And the right is a little more skeptical about that. And they're more, okay, no, we need to crack down a bit more on immigration. Why are there so many Muslims here? They're also like, why are there so many Chinese nationals here? They're that. And they're also a little more against abortion than the left is in Korea, all those things, right? And the left, obviously, a lot of feminists here. The right in Korea hates feminism. So these things are evolving. The left and right dynamic in Korea is evolving to kind of match a little bit of what's going on in the West. But all that being considered, then what is our takeaway? Okay, so now with all of these governor positions and the mayoral positions moving towards and being given over to the DBK, this means now that the DBK can control much more of local politics now. And much like in the West, where the right is fractured and the left is unified in getting what they want accomplished, much is the same in Korea. The right is fractured and the left is unified in their vision to achieve their agenda. Thank God that Daegu is still conservative. Seoul, we still have a PPP mayor. And then two large provinces, Gyeongsang-Namdo and Gyeongsang-Bukdo, they still have a PPP governor. But all of that being said, it's like, what now the Democrats in Korea have the opportunity to push through their agenda on the local level more aggressively. And that's a bad sign. That's a bad sign. Why? Because, again, they're destroying Korea. And on top of that, as an American, if you're an American watching this, you should also care about that because the left-wing government in Korea is left-wing insofar as they hate America. So they attack American companies. They go after American companies like Coupang and Meta. They go They just recently raided, South Korean government officials just raided a U.S. military base in Korea. So they are very anti-America, anti-American intervention, all that stuff in their country, but they are pro-Chinese companies, right? Alibaba, Temu, BYD, like they are pro-Chinese companies coming in, setting up shop, buying land, buying houses. You think that Chinese nationals buying houses, CCP buying land and houses in America is bad? They're doing the same thing in Korea, by the way. And so if you're an American watching this, you should care because the DPK is very soft, and not only soft, but pro-China and pro-CCP, and they're very anti-America. Now, my stance on this is that you shouldn't just be blindly pro-China just to be pro-China or anti-China just to be anti-China. Same thing with America. Like, you should have reasons in this day and age, in 2026, on why you're against China and why you're pro-America or why you're pro-China against America. There should be a reason. A lot of this just comes down to tribal politics at the end of the day, especially in Korea. But I think insofar as Chinese interests are in opposition to Korean interests, we should be anti-China. And if we should be pro-China insofar as Korean interests are aligned with, or Chinese interests are aligned with Korean interests. Now, what you're going to find is that a lot of Chinese interests are not aligned with South Korean interests. Because why? Because China wants global hegemony. That's a fact. They are imperialistic. And so if we are soft on China, we will be under Chinese influence, which is not what we want when we want a sovereign Korea. But the same could be true about America, right? There are a lot of great things about American influence in South Korea. No one can deny that. But there's also very negative American influences in Korea. A lot of, by the way, the LGBTQ and the feminist garbage that's funded and brought to Korea is from American NGOs, it's from American funders and investors, from donors, it's from American activists. Like this American influence, I'll never forget this. In the US Embassy in the middle of Gwanghwamun Square in Seoul, literally, like they would fly the BLM and the pride flag on the US Embassy in the middle, in the heart of Seoul. Why, as a Korean, would you want that? You shouldn't want that. And insofar as that's concerned, yes, you should be skeptical of American influence in Korean politics and in Korean society. So, as a Korean, you should think of it that way. And as an American watching this, broadly speaking, though, like you want Korea and America to be on good terms, to have a strong alliance in the same way that you want America and Japan to have a strong alliance right now. Why? Because the number one geopolitical enemy of America is arguably, not inarguably, China. It is. Now, you can say like Israeli forces and the Israeli government has a lot more power and influence over American politicians. I think there's much to be said there, and you can argue that point. But the geopolitical enemy of America is, first and foremost, China. And America respects China, so that's why we're not rash and brash in our decisions against China. But yeah, like they are our number one competitor on the world stage. So to understand that, then you need allies in East Asia like Korea, like Japan, who are strong and capable to be on your side. So all that being said, the DPK is bad news for Korea. They're going to probably expand immigration and visas. And people say, oh, they're trying to reform the refugee act where they're going to slash refugee applications. I'm like, great. But that doesn't account for the majority of immigrants. The majority of immigrants in Korea, right, which you go to Korea, you're going to see a lot of foreigners. It's actually very concerning. And a lot of them aren't tourists, by the way. They're actual residents. And I talk to so many Koreans, by the way. I go to Korea, I talk to so many Koreans who are like, I don't recognize the city I grew up in. Like 20 years ago, 10 years ago even, it wasn't like this. It's just gotten crazy out of hand in the 10 20 years. Yeah, they're all here. They're all here, but they're all in Korea on student visas, work visas, marriage visas. That's what they're all in Korea for. So it's not the refugees that make up the vast swath of immigrants in Korea. So if you want to curb the immigration crisis that is increasing in Korea, the third world migration that's happening to Korea, then you got to tackle those visas. It's the same thing in America, right? How are people getting into the system? H-1B visas. And that's how they're infiltrating and taking over all these positions in these companies. That's what it's through the visa. It's through legal means. And that's what needs reform. But the DPK is very pro, foreign visas and things like that. So that will get worse. I believe the gender problem will get worse. I don't think the birth rate issue will be addressed anytime soon because it's just like they try to throw money at the problem. I mean, like the money is not the issue. The money is not the issue. It's the culture is the issue. And insofar as you constantly have a materialistic approach to family formation, it's not going to solve anything. So all of these things that they don't even think about, they don't even think about the industrialization of poorer rural areas in Korea. Why? Because they are right wing. They vote for the People Power Party. They vote conservative. So they don't even care about the dying villages and the dying rural areas that need industrialization, that need modernization, that need an economy boom. They don't care about it. So it's like these people, and I'm not saying that the PPP cares about it all that much either, because both sides suck. A lot of the politicians on both sides really, really suck. But ultimately, this is bad news for Korea. I don't think it's going to be great. And you can look forward to an increasingly anti-American regime in Korea in the years to come. I hope Koreans wake up soon, and I hope they stop voting for this party because they're not good news, and they're not super radical like the Democrats in America are, but they are still bad news. And this is how it all starts. It's like slow. Okay, we're just going to introduce this thing here, a little bit of this, a little bit of this, and then suddenly, boom! And then one thing they're trying to pass right now is the anti-discrimination law in Korea, which would make it illegal to discriminate protected peoples. It's the same garbage that you see in America with the civil rights, with civil rights legislation. And it literally, natively, it disenfranchises native citizens, and it gives preferential treatment to the worst kinds of people in society. That's what it'll do. And if they pass that, which I think they might because they have a majority in the National Assembly, plus they control the executive branch, plus they're trying to pack the courts as well. They're expanding, they're trying to pack the courts with their own justices. So all those things, not really looking very good at the federal level, not looking very good at the local level as well. So many positions flipped. So many governors and mayors are now DPK. So we shall see what happens on this program. We will update you. So do not worry. We will update you with all the great news going on. But last thing I'll say before we move on to possible election fraud is that the People Power Party needs to really lean in, excuse me, to actually giving opportunity and messages of opportunity to the next generation. The next generation, they feel hopeless. They're nihilistic. This is why Korea has the highest suicide rate in any modern country. In any OECD country, in any first world country, Korea has the highest suicide rate. The number one cause of death of of Koreans aged 9 to 39 is suicide. Like in America, it's like heart disease because of all the health problems and things like that. It's suicide. And so the young generation, the next generation in Korea feels hopeless. They're nihilistic. They need hope. They need a future to look forward to, a future to fight for. And they don't have that right now. And then so you see with Oh Se-hoon, who just won, he won so much of the young vote in Seoul. Like we can see that the energy of the next generation is trending conservative. Now, what can we learn from Oh Se-hoon? Well, Oh Se-hoon's pretty milquetoast, but he's charismatic. He's friendly. He's good. We need to elect leaders like that who's charismatic. And so many People Power Party politicians are so dull. They're so drab. They're old, they're chunky, they're just right? We need good energy in the People Power Party. And also you need to give them actual policy prescriptions on how you're going to change their future. And we got to move past this whole we're just going to free up the economy at all costs. That's just not going to work anymore. The living wages, right? The wages have not caught up to the GDP of Korea. So as the GDP increases massively, the wages have stagnated. So a lot of Koreans feel poorer than they were 20 years ago, 10 years ago. And it's a similar problem in America. You see that too. But that being said, though, Korea was dirt poor 60 years ago. So it's a different metric and it's a different scenario. But you need actual policy prescriptions. Hey, we're going to actually industrialize rural regions. Hey, we're going to give you job opportunities that's not just in Seoul. We're going to industrialize Daegu, Busan. We're going to bring the economy here so that not all the economy is just concentrated in Gyeonggi-do. We're going to make changes. You want to form a family? Yeah, we're going to make changes to the corporate culture, to the education system, where we won't devalue merit. We won't devalue accomplishments and achievements, but we will also make it so that family comes first. That it's not just the economy, it's not just about jobs and things like that, but family comes first, where we can have a society where we have healthy families, healthy marriages. We're going to redo so much architecture. These are the things that we need. We need, and the People Power Party needs this kind of messaging for the future. And if they do so, I think they can win. It's just a matter of much like the GOP, they elect such terrible politicians and terrible leaders. And so I think we need a little more of a Trump-like candidate in this PPP to continue to win. But yeah, we gotta be. They have to be emboldened on the political front, but they also have to be emboldened on the cultural front. They have to start creating culture, start creating media, mass media, more media that's pro-family, pro-marriage, pro-traditional values. Do all those things. Infiltrate culture. There's a rapper right now. His name is BY. He's very famous, and he's under a lot of heat, but he's making waves in the culture. Why? Because he's speaking out against communism, and he's pro-freedom. Can you imagine if we got people like BY, who's a super popular rapper in Korea, to start talking about like in an artistic way, family values, that truly what matters, like eternal values, first principles of goodness, truth, and beauty, right? Like that's what we need. That's just what we can get. But the People Power Party, they don't care. Like they just sit on their hands. They're like, oh yeah, the free market will do its thing. It's like, okay, no, it's not just gonna do its thing. You gotta lead the country. You gotta lead your constituents, and that's what it is. So, all right, that is gonna do it for the Korean elections. Now, let's talk about the election fraud. So, in any election, this is inevitably true. In any elections, there's going to be a certain degree of fraud and voter impropriety because there's no system that's perfect. Now the question is it enough to flip election results? And right now in Korea, there's a lot of problems. There's a lot of problems because there's a lot of ballot shortages, which is so ridiculous. But ballot shortages that hit multiple polling locations, over a dozen in Seoul's Songpa-gu district. And so, right, that's where like a lot of the cool stuff, like if you ever been to Korea, you went to Lotte World, or you see the tallest tower in Seoul, Lotte Tower, that's where it is. So this is that district. It's a very nice district. If you watched my video on Instagram where I went to the lake with all the pretty cherry blossoms, that's also where it is. So yeah, ballot shortages, especially in this district in Korea, hit over a dozen polling locations in this district in Seoul, and amid a high turnout. So, in this election, 61 to 62% of Koreans voted in this election. This is the second highest turnout in local election history in Korea, which means that a lot of Koreans were concerned about the future of their country. But yeah, 61% in affected areas, and there's accusations that it affected not only places in Seoul, in Jamsil, in Songpa district, but all over the country, in Daegu, in Daejeon. Like I've seen lots and lots of footage and lots of reports of this coming out. But right now, even the National Election Committee itself in Korea, so this is not conspiracy theory, by the way, has officially confirmed that ballot shortages occurred at 14 polling locations during yesterday's local elections, right? So mainly Jamsil, Garak, and Munjeong areas, Cheongdam. And so, yeah. And a JTBC released exit poll results before polls had officially closed, which clearly violates election law. And so a lot of things, ballot shortages, people weren't able to vote. And I think this affected upwards of 2,800 voters. Like, so thousands upon thousands. And that's just in Seoul itself. Like thousands upon thousands of Koreans were not able to vote because of what? Ballot shortages. First of all, this is so insane that you have ballot shortages in a country like South Korea. Right here, Grok estimates 2,800 South Korean voters could not vote and went home. According to analysis by Grok, based on the latest Chosun Ilbo, by the way, all these are left-wing outlets, as many as 2,800 voters nationwide may have been unable to cast their ballots and eventually gave up and returned home due to severe ballot shortages during the June 3rd local elections. Songpa-gu printed ballots for only 50% of eligible voters, which is insane. Why would you only Why would you only print ballots for 50% of eligible voters? You need to print ballots for 100% of eligible voters. So yes, not all of them are going to come out, but so that you have enough for every person to vote. But how do you not have enough? Like only printing 50% for eligible that word is so hard to say. Eligible voters is so insane. Like, and you have all of these areas that, 500 people are waiting, 200 people, 300, 400 people waiting for tickets, but they just gave up. They're like, okay, I don't know if it's going to come out anytime soon. Boom. And this is actual like election interference. Like this is fraud. Like this disenfranchises actual Korean voters. Right here in Jamsil, Childong, which is how you say it, I think. 300 to 400 voters who gave up. Jamsil Idong, 80 to 120 voters gave up. Songpanggu, 8 stations. Upwards of 1,300 voters gave up. Other Seoul districts, 600. Nationwide, 2,800, right? And that's just like estimates, right? Based on what we know. So it's like thousands of Koreans aren't able to vote. Like this is a grand failure. This is actual a huge failure of the National Election Commission in Korea. Like how does Korea, which if you ever go to Korea, it is an incredible country. It runs so smoothly. The public transportation is always on time. It's clean. It's orderly. It's safe. Things are so efficient. All the systems are so intuitive and well set up. It is such a breeze getting around in Korea. I can go to Korea. I don't need a car. I can go to wherever I want in Korea. Like seriously, like genuinely wherever I want, except if it's like in the middle, like but nowhere, in what you call the boonies. Then yeah, maybe you need a car or a taxi. But even then, taxis are so easy to get. It's so easy to get around in Korea. So how do you get in a Korea it prides itself on its efficiency, its productivity. Like how do you mess up the election, which is such a contentious election? How do you mess this up so much that you only print 50% of ballots for 50% of eligible voters? Like you have to assume that 100 people are coming out. We all know that 100 people never come out to vote. Even in America, it's like in the 60% as well. So like 30 to 40% of Americans and eligible voters don't vote. But yeah, that's what. How do you screw this up this badly? How do you screw this up this badly? And you might think, hey, Kangmin, it's only a few thousand votes. What are you going to do? There are 50, 60 million people in Korea. All right. Well, I'll show you what kind of result it'll have. Look at this. Right here. Here's an election, okay? 50 to 50%. The Democrat won here. Right here. Okay? For Chungnam. Okay, they won this election by 1 vote. He had 11,594 votes. The People Power Party candidate had 11,593 votes. Okay, it was literally determined by 1 vote. 1 vote. Can you imagine if just 2 of those people, 2 of the 2,800 people who weren't able to vote, voted in this election for the People Power Party? Then they would have won. And that literally dictates the next few years, if not the next few decades, of Korean politics and legislation. Like, literally. This is the governor's race, right? Yeah. It's this is how important our elections are. No, actually, I think this might be a local city council election. 노산시, 충남 논산, it's a city, 논산 in Chungnam-do, right? And that's a province, I think, in Korea. And small city, clearly you see with the amount of votes, but yeah. So disenfranchising voters could literally mean completely different election results, and so having disenfranchising voters like this, it's really, really bad. So this is a mass failure, and it's so ridiculous that the DPK, that Lee Jae-myung, is not getting more flack for this because you already know if it was a conservative president in charge, people would be freaking out. Mass media would be freaking out about how we need to impeach the president for his negligence with the National Election Commission that disenfranchised voters. Oh, but because it was under Lee Jae-myung, while media is reporting it, they're not criticizing him for it, right? Even this person said this. Like, Koreans know this too, that this person in Korea said, I don't like Yoon Suk-yeol, but if it's been Yoon Suk-yeol doing this, you would all have rushed to Gwanghwamun right away chanting for impeachment. Yet because the Democratic Party is doing it, you keep your mouth shut. It's fine like that? Oh, the president did nothing wrong, blah, 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 blah. Are you kidding me? This is a problem where the president needs to step up and apologize. This is so true. And as far as we know, they haven't issued any like direct apologies. They said, oh, this is something that messed up in the NEC, blah, blah, blah. But they haven't issued a direct apology and taken responsibility for this. Now you know if it was the other way around, it's the same everywhere you go. The right is always accused of everything, but when the left does it, it's okay. Because why? It's because we're doing it. Which is why, again, this is a broader point. Conservatives cannot hold to the abstractions of principles over power. And what I mean by that is like we advocate and we fight for our principles, we fight for our convictions, we fight for our values, we fight for the policies that we want in the country. That's all true and that's all good. But what I'm saying is that you can't hold to these abstractions of principles. Like, oh, I'm so principled. Look at me. I'm a principled conservative and I abide by the rule of law. Oh, the left doesn't. It's like, okay, but the left is going to do whatever they want anyways. So that doesn't work. You have to attain power and you got to wield power in an effective and optical way so that you win the trust of the people. That's what you have to do. And it's obviously the hypocrisy is it's like so blatant in politics everywhere you go. The left, it's okay when the left does it, but it's not okay when the right does it. But yes, objectively true, the National Election Commission is not directly under the president. Like the president isn't directly responsible for every single thing that the National Election Commission does. But at the same time, as the leader of your country, it is incumbent on you to apologize, especially to those 2,800 voters and probably even more, thousands of voters who weren't able to vote because of this mishandling. So the election commission needs complete rehaul. They need complete reform because this is objectively insane that this happened in 2026. Now, because of this, there's mass protests. Mass protests have broken out for like days. Like, so it's been like 2 days and they're still protesting on the streets of Seoul, even in Daegu. They're protesting all over the country because of this, and rightfully so. If you weren't able to vote and you were disenfranchised from voting, I'd be pretty pissed too. I'd be pretty pissed because it dictates the direction and the future of your country. But even like among the... And again, you can say that these people were violent and they're getting violent, but the craziest thing is that police were confiscating the taegukgi. So taegukgi is the national flag of Korea. It is the South Korean flag, which is a great design, by the way. But they were confiscating the taegukgi that they're waving. Like, look here. Like, literally, they're taking away their taegukgi. They're taking away their right to fly the national flag of Korea. What are you doing? What are you doing? By all means, yeah, arrest violent protesters. If they're actual terrorists, like, yeah, by all means, arrest them. Fine. Like, you should not be a disruption to the public, attack law enforcement. You shouldn't do that. But they're just waving the Korean flag. And in the same way that the police in America or the UK, they attack patriots for waving their national flag. Like, what are we doing here? And this is a broader problem because you might think, oh, they're just trying to crack down on vigilantism. They're just trying to crack down on lawlessness. No, like this is a problem because in Korea, it's a well-known fact that there's actually a lot of Chinese nationals and a lot of Southeast Asian people becoming part of the police force. They're becoming part of the police force. That the people who enforce the law, and are supposed to enforce the law in Korea, are foreign nationals. How does that make any sense? We have this incident here in Jeju-do, which is the island south of Korea. Right here. They're protesting.
你们马上撤掉，撤掉，
打电话报警。
打电话给大使馆，把你们东西全部收掉，我马上给你们打电话。不要这样子，好。应该打人，打的，你干嘛？
Oh my God. So as you saw there, if you're just listening, what happened was a bunch of Chinese nationals came up to peaceful protesters. Peaceful protesters, these are old Koreans, by the way, like Korean grandmas and grandpas. They're protesting on the streets about Chinese infiltration in Korea. And then these Chinese nationals, of course, yes, proving them right, right? You really proved them wrong, didn't you? But they actually proved them right by going up to them and acting like thugs. They're beating them up. They're taking their flags and throwing it on the ground, kicking down their signs. And you wonder why there's so many Koreans who don't want you in Korea. You act like this. And when we think about the Chinese infiltration in Korea, it's very severe. I would say it's even worse than it is in America, although it does happen in America, mainly through our academic institutions. But it's bad. It's bad. And in the same way the left cares about when we call out garbage behavior more than the garbage behavior itself, obviously the left in Korea also are calling out this, saying, why are you so racist against Chinese people? That's so mean. Instead of calling this behavior out, like they literally are attacking Koreans on the streets, protesting peacefully. So there is a foreign invasion happening on American soil. Definitely on American soil, but Korean soil as well. Where they're coming in, they're infiltrating the institutions, the companies, and disrupting public life. So when people say that, oh, you're just racist against Chinese people to Koreans, it's like, no, like Koreans don't just blindly hate mainland Chinese people. Like any average Korean you talk to, like they're very accepting, they're tolerant. To a fault, in my opinion. But it's the response to the behavior. You gotta understand, these stereotypes exist because of the behavior. If Chinese nationals were known in Korea for being very quiet, very respectful, upholding decorum and etiquette in Korea, not going around speaking Chinese loudly, not causing a ruckus or acting like thugs on the street. Yeah, like Koreans wouldn't have a stereotype against them. But they do because, why? These stereotypes are just an indication of reality. What people observe is just pattern recognition. That's not racist. It's just recognizing that certain people have a pattern for certain behavior and that we don't want to tolerate that kind of behavior. We don't like that kind of behavior. And it's the same thing we talked about earlier in this program that black people do. Oh, you just hate us because we're black. No, we don't hate you because you're black. We hate you because you destroy our communities and kill our people. If you stop that behavior, if you're known for being polite, for being courteous, for just being so generous and charitable, no one would have a problem with you. Actually, people will welcome you with open arms and, man, I really wish I would encounter a black customer today. They're the best. But of course, no one feels that way because we all have fatigue. Why? Because we see the videos, we have the experiences, we have the encounters. So all the gaslighting doesn't work. It doesn't work. So here's video footage of one of the protests happening about the election fraud. All right, so you see, pause the video. So you see there on the right side, you see Trump. You see a guy wearing like a Trump costume and like he has a Trump mask on. And the guy in the middle, his name is Douglas. Douglas, what was his name again? Can you zoom out a bit? What was his name? Douglas Frank. Okay, so Douglas Frank, he's supposedly an election fraud expert in America. I've heard of him only today. But he came to South Korea to protest with the Korean people. Now, by all means, I think this is worthy of protest, and you should protest the Korean election, especially with this clear amount of election fraud. I think there's also examples that we have of Korean conservatives folding their ballots just to make sure that their ballot is counted. And then in all the footage and the pictures of the ballots being counted, like none of the folded ballots were there. Like none of the folded ballots were there. So that it's really concerning because like they're trying to be like, okay, I'm going to take preventative measures personally to prevent voter fraud. Yet, where's my vote? Where are these ballots? And so a lot of conservatives are trying to do their part in Korea to prevent voter impropriety. Yet it just seems to happen on a scale that is concerning. A scale that is concerning. So if we can go back to the video. So right here, this guy, Douglas, is I impugn no like bad motives to this guy. I think he's great. I think he's doing good work. But the problem is, I want to speak on this where this guy comes in and everyone sees him as a savior. Koreans see him as a savior. Koreans are going and saying, well, like America needs to intervene. And then Dr. Douglas here is also saying America needs to intervene. And you heard their shouts. Their shouts were saying, we go together, we go together, we go together. And this is a chant. This is like an anthem of a lot of Korean conservatives on the right in Korea. And when they say we go together, they're saying all democracies go together in the fight for democracy, right? They say America, they say Japan, they say Israel. All these countries, we all go together for the fight for democracy. But the problem is, like, democracy, and I might get a lot of flack for this, but democracy should not be the framework by which you judge someone to be your ally or not. You can have a country that is a constitutional monarchy, yet be someone who is strategically good to be aligned with, right? Just because they're a democracy doesn't mean that there are natural partners. Like we have to think a little deeper and a little bigger when it comes to politics. Democracy in and of itself is not the end goal of politics. What is the end goal of politics? It's upholding what is good, true, and beautiful. We want to uphold goodness and truth and beauty in society. We want order. We want things to thrive. We want, a flourishing society, a prosperous society. We want an orderly society. We want a clean and safe society. But we want a beautiful society, right? And so, insofar as democracy is a bottleneck and an obstacle towards those ends, it's like, okay, maybe we need to cut down on democracy a bit. And that might be controversial, but again, the founding fathers, we always look to America as a shining example of democracy. No, it wasn't a shining example of democracy. Direct citizens couldn't vote for the president until very recently. Yes, that's true. Why? Because it was the slate of electors who voted. The American citizens couldn't even vote for the Senate, the senator of their state. Federally, the only thing they voted for was what? The House of Representatives. And even then, voting was very, very limited. Why? Because the founding fathers of America, they did not create America and build America as a democracy. They built America as a republic where you have representatives represent you, and you have democratic norms, sure, but it was, and has always been, a constitutional republic. So mass democracy was never promised or envisioned among the founding fathers of America. Koreans need to understand this. And I hope Koreans understand this, where you can have democratic norms. I'm not saying that's bad. That's actually healthy for society in certain regards. But to have mass democracy and just to leave the future of the country to every single person is not a wise way of governance. We have warnings from many, many philosophers in the past about mass democracy. So if democracy is the standard by which we judge our allies, like that's not helpful. I don't believe that's a helpful test. And so they say we go together. But not only do we go together, they constantly see America as a way for people, for Korea to be bailed out. You see this a lot on the right in Korea online. And I know there's a lot of people on the right who also call this out, but they say that, oh, hopefully Trump comes in and kidnaps Lee Jae-myung like he did with Maduro. Like, no, he's not going to do that. He's not going to do that. Because Korea is not a communist hellhole and is not an enemy to America. They would never do that. They would never do that. And here's a video right here. This happened the other day. So a representative asked Marco Rubio, hey, what do you think about the anti-American interests of South Korea going after American companies? Don't you think we should intervene? And this is what Marco Rubio said. So let's watch this clip.
Democratic one, which is the one that you didn't touch on that I'm concerned about is actually a democratic one, which is the democracy of South Korea has taken a strong bent to the left, opening up more avenues toward China and, in fact, beginning to oppress many of our companies, including Meta, Coupon, and others. Can you tell us what can be done and what this committee should do with countries who, through democratic means, are beginning to become anti-U.S.?
Right. So there are a couple points I would make. The first is that, and this is the unique aspect of dealing with democracies, and we see it in our hemisphere quite often. Sometimes in a democratic country, they will elect leaders that are friendlier to U.S. national interests, such as what we have now in Japan. And sometimes they will elect leaders that have a different perspective. We respect the sovereign choice of the people of that country. That's a legitimate election. That's who they chose. In those instances in which a democracy and their elected leaders are taking positions that run contrary to the national interest of the United States, it doesn't mean we want to overthrow the government or get rid of the government because it's a democratic government. It simply means we have to engage them in the fact that they are doing things that are irritants to our national interests. You point to some of our companies. Our companies aren't just facing challenges and, I would say targeting in South Korea. They're facing it throughout Europe. And the European Union, as an example, is targeting our technology companies and conducting what we believe is unfair. So I think this becomes a feature of our engagement with South Korea, even as we have things that we're strategically aligned on. These are areas we've expressed and I think have, frankly, impacted our ability to conclude a trade agreement with them because of some of their behavior towards American companies.
So Marco Rubio summed it up pretty well that they're not gonna intervene. Trump admin is not gonna go in and send the military to capture Lee Jae-myung like they did with Maduro and do a regime change. They're not gonna do that. Yet there are so many people who advocate for that on the internet from the right, and also there's also people who think that America's gonna save them, that America's gonna bail them out. One, that's just not gonna happen. And the more that you advocate for that, it literally deflects the responsibility from you to another person in another country. But secondly, it looks weak. It looks weak. Koreans need to stop doing this where they expect America to bail them out of everything that they have. But Koreans, by their own flesh and blood, by their own hands and feet, they have to fight for their country. And I don't mean like in a violent way. I'm not calling for violent insurrection or things like that. I'm saying through the means that you have. Fight for your country. Fight for goodness, truth, and beauty, that it may prevail, that justice and mercy and goodness may prevail in your country. You need to fight for those things. You're a patriot. Don't expect America to bail you out every time. And it's easy to beat your chest about it on the internet, but like go out and do something about it. Talk to people about it. Mobilize. Right? Campaign. Like there's so many avenues by which you can save this country and save Korea and transform Korea. And the number one thing that you can do is that change is a slow process, unfortunately, in a democracy. But one thing you can do is get married and have lots of children. You want to impact change for the future of Korea? Well, there's no future. You can't impact change for the future of Korea if there's no future Korea, if there's no future Koreans. And so while liberals are going out being boss babes and saying, oh, look at how great I am, living their single lives, as a conservative, if you truly believe in American values, traditional values, then what you think you'll do is get married and have children, have lots of children. Get married and have lots of children. And I know it's not easy. It's easier in America than in Korea because of the money that we make in America. It's easier to make money in America than it is in Korea. The average the average salary in America is much higher than it is in Korea. I get that. But at the same time, Korea is richer than it's ever been before. 50 years ago, the Korean birth rate was 5. And that was when Korea was one of the poorest countries in the world. What's your excuse? What's my excuse? Well, I'm trying to find a wife. But yeah, go have children, get married, have children. That's one legitimate way that you can have lasting impact for the future of Korea and change this country for the better. Talking about how America will save us will not. That's just not a feasible political solution, but Koreans need to advocate with their voices, with their hands and feet for the future of Korea. So that's the election fraud. That's what's going on in Korea. I hope things get resolved. I don't have much hope because the DBK is not good news. And I don't think they'll solve the issue of election fraud anytime soon. And the mainstream media, while they report on the election impropriety, the voter impropriety, they still will call the right a bunch of conspiracy theorists and election denier people, right? That's what they did in America too. Oh, you're election deniers. When we had clear examples of election fraud in the 2020 election, it's just a matter of we need to find the evidence for it. We need to give substantial proof and have genuine investigations and to see if it was enough to overturn the results of the elections. And I hope that once the PPP also gets back in power, that they're able to investigate. But that's why it's very important to get back in power. That political power is the utmost important in politics. Why? Because that's how you effectuate change. So if you want to free President Yoon, if you want to investigate voter fraud, if you want to change the National Election Committee, you have to gain political power. And then once you gain political power, that's when you can make the changes necessary. All right, that's enough for Korea. Last segment, we'll breeze through this because it's already been 2 hours on this segment. We will talk about what's going on in online discourse. Very interesting. Okay, so there's a crazy meme that went crazy viral yesterday that amassed tens of millions of views on X alone and all across the internet, probably like hundreds of thousands if you total it all. And it's this meme. And I don't really condone this kind of humor. I am not one to joke about such atrocities such as grape and things like that. But this guy, Anthony, says, how your girlfriend looks at you when you ask her to block the guy who, quote unquote, raped her in 2022. There's another one that is this exact same one, but it's from who raped her in 2019. Now, it's the same thing. They both copied each other. I don't know who did it first. I think the LT Jonathan Kendrick did it first. But this meme, if you see here picture, this is a screenshot from the indie film Obsession that came out recently, the horror film. And this is actress Indy Navarrete. And she has a pouty expression about this, right? Where she's like, And this went crazy, crazy viral. Now, this went viral because so many men resonated with this. Because there are so many men who know a woman in their life or an ex that they had who not only who maybe fabricated a quote-unquote rape story or a sexual assault story, or they categorize rape as something that, I was raped, but it was actual consensual sex. It was just consensual sex that they regretted later. Now, I want to be very clear. Rape is a horrific crime. It's terrible. I think any genuine rapist should get like the death penalty or at the very least be castrated. But it went crazy viral because so many guys resonate with this. They have stories upon stories of guys acting like this, of guys knowing girls who act like this. Now, how is the female response to this? Now, you would think that women would deny this, that they would deny, no, that's insane. You're just making things up. Of course I block my rapist. Of course, it's not fake. I don't make these things up. But they don't deny it. They didn't deny it. They acknowledged it. Look at this tweet. This went crazy viral. This is girl Budweiser, word generator, because it's almost, and this isn't response to the meme, why girls don't block the quote-unquote rapist. Because it's almost always someone you know, someone you might have trusted, a mutual friend, someone in your family, your best friend's brother. People spend years convincing you that what happened to you wasn't even that bad. Blocking doesn't even enter the picture. What? Block the MF. Block the MF. Seriously, block that guy. He raped you, didn't he? Oh, no, but someone in your family. Someone you might have known. Okay, but this same girl, by the way, guess who she blocked? She blocked her dad. She says here, my dad is asking me why he can't find my Insta account because he doesn't know I blocked him. What am I supposed to say in this situation? She blocked her own dad, but she won't block her rapist, quote unquote rapist. What is going on here? What is going on here? One cannot comprehend the female mind. Actually, you can. It's very simple. They're either lying about it. Or they genuinely liked the quote unquote rape, right? And that sounds terrible to say, but why else wouldn't you block your rapist? You'd rather block your father over your rapist? Like genuinely, if you're genuinely traumatized by your rapist, you would want to block him. And then people say in response to this, well, wouldn't you want to monitor your rapist? Well, no. First of all, no, because that's reliving your trauma every time, which is horrific. But also, he can still see you. He can still monitor you and what you're doing. Your safety should be the number one priority if you're quote unquote raped. But so it's like, this thing is so insane. And many people see this and they're like, what is going on? What is going on? And do we have any more tweets of this? Yeah, right here. Here's another tweet. This is this girl named Sarah. She says, I don't talk to my rapist. I never saw him again or went back. And then this guy, Sleepy Livers, asks, but did you block him? And she asked, this meme is so dumb. So there are women who are apparently raped, but they won't block their rapist. Right here, here's a collection of tweets from women. Men out here thinking rape is funny and something to meme about, but tell me more about why I should care for men's mental health. I don't give a single F about the male loneliness epidemic. Y'all deserve it. Men who think rape is funny should die. This is why men deserve to be lonelier and women need to be more evil. But none of them are addressing the actual point, and none of them are actually denying it. They're not denying it. The number one thing, if I was accused of faking rape allegations or not blocking my rapist, I would deny that. I'd be like, no, I don't know. I mean, I'm not a woman, so maybe I don't understand. But they don't block. Why wouldn't you block your rapist? I would block my rapist. And here's the thing. Modern women these days, they will block their ex-boyfriend who treated them well after you break up with her and not block her rapist. How does that make any sense? That if you, as a boyfriend, treated her well, she'll break up with you to end things and, tie up loose ends and move on. But she won't she won't block her rapist? What? And there's like tons of stories from guys saying like, oh, I knew an ex who said she was raped and then she broke up with me just to get back together with her rapist. Like, what is going on? What is going on? And I have two theories. I do have two theories. One theory is the obvious one where they fake these quote unquote rape allegations in order to, one, get attention, or two, deflect responsibility when they get caught cheating on their boyfriend. By the way, this happened to me. I knew someone in high school where this happened to, where there's multiple guys who are accused of rape by this one crazy girl. And there's multiple guys she accused of raping her. And it just turns out she was cheating on her boyfriend. And she did it so that she would not, elicit sympathy from her friends and her boyfriend. When in actuality, she was just excuse my French, but whore. She was a whore. And she just did it to deflect responsibility. So this happens. We all, guys, if you engage with the modern woman today, especially online, there are tons of women who act like this. And two, I think another reason why women act like this is because they have these fantasies. They have very, very graphic fantasies. And the reality is, I do believe that there's a huge plethora of women who have, daddy issues and just people who are apart from Christ, just so broken, so hurting. I do believe that they'd rather be hurt by a guy, right, than be bored by a guy. Like they would rather be hurt and dealt with in a very demeaning manner. And they like that because it's fun, it's engaging, it's new, it's like, it's all these things, which I don't want to say, it's graphic, more than like a normal, simple guy who will treat her well and get her flowers. And this is true. This is true. And why I know this is true is because look at the response to, let's compare, for example, two prominent assassins in the past year, Luigi Mangione and Tyler Robinson. Luigi Mangione killed the United Healthcare CEO in cold blood. Tyler Robinson killed Charlie Kirk in cold blood. Two were both figures that the left hated, that feminists hated. If we can pull up a picture between the two. They were both people that the victims of these assassinations were both people that the left and feminists hated. But who was the one who was, let's make some thirst traps about him? And who was the one who just completely ignored? Is Luigi Mangione. And then they ignored Tyler Robinson. Now, I think just eulogizing or celebrating these kind of depraved people is disgusting in and of itself. But why? Luigi Mangione was handsome. He was jacked. He got six-pack abs, all that stuff. Tyler Robinson was frail. He was socially awkward. And so women will literally defend killers, rapists. They will all that as long as he's attractive, he's hot. They have these all perverted fantasies about them. Think about all the best-selling books in the past few years from women. Twilight, 50 Shades of Grey. We all know this one that was crazy. What was it called? Milk Farm? Right here. Morning Glory Milk Farm. Okay, Morning Glory Milk Farm. This book is about a woman who has sex with a minotaur, okay? So you think about things like Twilight or Morning Glory Milk Farm. These are all bestiality fantasies, which is really disturbing. The fan base is all women, and women love these stories. Gave raving reviews. And if you just go through the reviews on Goodreads of Morning Glory Milk Farm, it's so disgusting. It's so disgusting. Like there's this one here, right here, 5 stars. Me hiding from the fact that I gave a book about milking minotaur dicks, 5 stars. God bless America. Great will. This is a guy. That's disgusting. I can casually enjoy cozy erotica about a young man who milks her way to financial security and true love with a minotaur. Ali L. Our eyes will never see the gates of heaven. It's disgusting. Disgusting. No more. Put it away, producer E. Oh my gosh, it's so disgusting. So this, like, women today are having these fantasies. So it's on one side, there are women who are lying about it because it affords them social status, because everyone will feel bad for them, give them sympathy and their attention, or they're trying to deflect from responsibility for having an affair or cheating on their boyfriend. And then the other hand are a huge swath of perverted women who get off to all this crazy erotica and disgusting media. So that's where we live in, and I think this is probably the coffin of Me Too, where Me Too was so powerful, and by just a woman having or lodging rape allegations, the whole society, all of culture was on their side. But they have played their hand. And now because there's so many false ones, and on top of that, women who claim to be raped, which either means truly they're making it up, it was consensual sex that they regretted, or it's just sex that felt unloving, right? It wasn't, there's no love involved. That's where we're at. It killed it. Women killed the Me Too movement. Women killed it. And this meme was a nail in the coffin. So to all the female viewers that I have, I want to say once again, rape is a horrible crime, horrific crime. I wouldn't wish that on anyone or anyone's daughter. It's disgusting. It's horrific. The crime should be death penalty or at the very least castration. But let's not fake the rape allegations. Let's not call anything and everything that we regret rape. Let's not make it up to deflect from responsibilities. Now, let's move away from the fantasies of the really, really disturbing things. But truly, if you ever watched or read, I think there's video renditions or animations of this, but if you ever read Aesop's Fable, The Boy Who Cried Wolf, it was not an instruction manual, it was a warning. Stop crying wolf, stop lying, and maybe men will believe you more. Until then, it is so appalling to me that women treat incels worse than they do their own quote-unquote rapists. Next story we have from TMZ. Lena the Plug files for divorce from Adam22. Okay, so maybe some of you don't know who this is. They're very influential. They have millions of followers and people who listen to their podcast. Anyways, Lena the Plug, who is this whore, she filed for divorce from Adam22 2 days ago in LA County without a lawyer. And they have a 5-year-old daughter. So she's trying to fight for custody, and he's trying to fight for custody. And so she's seeking full legal physical custody, half of their $1.1 million studio, and notes $3,000 a month spousal support as her income. And so if you don't know this couple, they're known for having an OnlyFans. They have a No Jumper podcast empire, which rakes in a lot of money. And this is the inevitable result. They literally, their whole quote-unquote marriage was built on polyamory, built on letting their spouse sleep with other people. But ultimately, Adam22, when asked about this, he would always say, yeah, I'm not insecure. Yeah, I let my wife get railed by other guys. Well, of course. What do you think is going to happen if you continue to allow that? She's going to leave you. She's going to leave you. We all warned about this. And then here's a clip of him saying that, it makes him feel better that he's in an open relationship and it's okay that other guys, it's really graphic. So I will caution you about this, but yeah, like what they say, it's really graphic.
Extremely judgmental about anybody with an open relationship. If people find out that your girl is getting f***ed by other people, they are so unbelievably judgmental about it. Even if you have an open relationship on both ends, you know? And I also feel like as soon as you acknowledge being a that they put like an additional level of stigma on you if you like watching it, which I think that this is wrong, but this is like how the average person seems to view it, at least on Twitter.
100%. And that's where you just...
All right, that's good enough. I don't want to hear more. It's disgusting. Yeah, no more. But that's what he's like, why? I enjoy being a cook. I enjoy watching my wife having sex with other guys. That's just so disgusting. It's so disgusting. But whoa, look, the thing we warned about is happening now. Whoa, who could have seen that coming? You said you enjoy your wife getting railed by other dudes and you make money off of it? And we're like, hey, she's gonna leave you soon, dude. Like, have some respect. Lead your marriage well. Like, stop whoring out your wife for money and views. Oh, I enjoy it. Why are you so insecure, man? Well, here, we weren't insecure. We're just warning you. Because this is a destructive lifestyle. And now what? Now she's filing for divorce. She don't love you no more, boy. She don't love you no more. She's going off some other dude. She probably fell in love with some other dude, some other guy who maybe has a little more money or is more handsome or is more young, whatever it may be. She's leaving you because you literally incentivized and permitted her infidelity. You thought it was good. And people say, oh yeah, but like he slept with other women too. Yeah, but if we believe as conservatives that the man is the head of the household and he is to lead his marriage and his family, then yes, the responsibility for his wife ultimately lands on him in this case. Why would you even allow other men to sleep with your wife? That's so disgusting. That's disgusting. Why would you ever even allow that? Now, this reminds me of another famous content creator. His name is Destiny. And if we all know Destiny is a degenerate liberal streamer. And he kept talking about how, yeah, I'm in an open relationship. Yeah, I let my wife sleep with other guys. Who cares? Stop being insecure. And then here's a clip, this famous clip of him watching his wife dance with another guy named Abba.
Oh, okay. Mel time. Mel time. It's Mel time.
Look how sad he is. zoom in. Look, like he's not clearly not enjoying it. He's clearly not enjoying it.
I can tell you were like a little bit. Yeah, you want to know how she knew what she was doing? She did this. She went.
Look at him. He's coping so hard.
All right,
that's good enough. It's such cope. He was like you can tell he didn't like it, but he's forced to like it. He has to put up this facade while this is not even an instance of his wife sleeping with another guy. It's just her dancing with another guy, and he's like, you can say he's miserable, but he has to pretend to like it. No guy actually enjoys seeing their wife having sex with other guys. That's just so pathetic. It's disgusting. Like, no self-respecting guy actually enjoys that. It's all cope. It's all cope. And basically, you either, as a man, you wear the pants in the relationship and you lead your wife well and protect her, or you just get into this kind of relationship where she'll lose respect for you. And if you are a cuckold and if you enjoy that stuff as a guy, your woman will lose respect for you. Even you think in the moment, I'm just doing what she wants. I'm just listening to her desire. I'm being a good husband. No, she's going to lose respect for you. She will inevitably lose respect for you, and she will leave you. Many such cases. So do not be this kind of person. To anyone listening, do not be this kind of person. Be strong, be courageous, be firm in your convictions and good convictions, but do not allow people to sleep with your wife and whore out your wife by yourself to make money. It's so disgusting. And this is the inevitable result. This was so predictable, and we know this is the result of a hypersexualized culture that literally trades intimacy for profit. Trades intimacy for pleasure, immediate pleasure, like true intimacy, where sex is supposed to be within the covenant of marriage between husband and wife only. Let's stop with this nonsense. And we need to, as a society, really value marriage again. Not in the sense of like, oh, you just do whatever you want, you marry whoever you want, but it's really as something that's sacred. That we need to view and protect marriage as sacred. And our society will live again, and it will thrive when we view marriage as sacred, not as a content farm. Your marriage as not something to monetize, but to protect and to cherish, and your spouse, someone to love, not to exploit. That's just true. That's just true. I speak facts. The people who came before us knew this very well. So all the Christian fundamentalists who made fun of you, Adam22, maybe you should have listened to us. Maybe you wouldn't be in this place. Last segment we're going to talk about before we get into our Q&A. Very, very interesting happenings on the interwebs of the deep trenches of Black TikTok. You go to Black TikTok and Black Reels. They have a trend right now of creating these Kool-Aid concoctions with dishwashers and the like. Take a look. This is a dishwasher, by the way.
I've been seeing everybody's Kool-Aid pineapple recipe, so let me show you guys how I make mine. First, we start off with the peanut pineapple and the cherry. Let's go ahead and get that up in there. Now, you see that peanut pineapple mixes with that cherry well to make sure that these pineapple slices go in nice and right. Let's throw those in there. So as we get that, everybody doesn't like to add that lime and that lemon and get it up in it, but I like to do that because it adds a little twang. See, that's the difference between mine and everybody else's. Okay, you see me going with that. Now, I also see people, they add some sugar, but they don't add enough. Let's go. Oh, bad. Right there. Okay, now I know what you're thinking. That's not enough lemon or lime. Okay, you guys. Now let's go ahead and get this ice in there right there. Okay, we add that ice in there because we want it nice and cold to make sure we maintain food safety temperatures because it's a little warm out here. But here in a second, these right here are going to absorb all that Kool-Aid, and you guys will literally see my...
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. They're just dumping sugar and fruit and Kool-Aid powder and everything into a dishwasher. Not dishwasher. What am I saying? Why do I keep saying dishwasher? I'm freaking laundry machine. I kept saying I kept saying dishwasher this whole program, didn't I? I'm actually retarded. A laundry machine where you're supposed to wash your clothes and do laundry. They're making Kool-Aid concoctions. What is this? What is this video that we have? It's like blue, like green chicken.
Just when you thought a hoe can Kool-Aid nothing else.
This is what it takes to run the fucking world.
Get the whole palette.
Yeah.
We finna get the whole.
We finna get the whole palette.
Got these Kool-Aid pineapple jars for you. Look, they ain't $20 either. They $12.
Show me your gun. What the fuck?
Boy, I got the hibachi grill in the throat there. Really?
All right, y'all, let's get into these Kool-Aid sardines. Here you go.
No. Alright, y'all, boy. Today we have our pineapple spill. These gonna be the pineapples and a banana dipped in straight Kool-Aid, boy.
Yo, my guys over at Q's Culinary just dropped these brand new drinks and they're about to take over in the city. These are the boiled hot dog water lemonades.
Y'all ain't never seen a rotisserie chicken spicy bowl, the area T&Th way, the Midwest way, big grabs, thick grabs.
So we're gonna make some butter Kool-Aid and some lemon Kool-Aid.
Go ahead and pour that. This sauce unmatched. We about to dig in. She said no.
What? I'm too excited. You don't even know.
Okay, I think we're good. I did. Oh my gosh. Oh my. What? Did you guys see that? They're making Kool-Aid pickles? Kool-Aid, like sausages? They're dipping sausages in Kool-Aid? Oh my gosh. What are we doing? What are they? I'm not doing that. What are they doing? What is going on? Oh my gosh. Do you guys remember when it went viral that black people are washing their chicken meat with dishwasher soap? Let's pull this up. Oh my gosh, dude. They're washing their chicken with dishwasher soap and a sponge.
If you don't put no dish up on your chicken when you cleaning it, then what are you doing? You got to get into it with that chicken. Got to get into it, period. You got to get into it with the chicken. You got to rub on it. Look at me rubbing on the rub. Yes, ma'am, periods. Get into it.
Oh my gosh, no.
I'm gonna show you how I clean my motherfucking chicken. This is how my grandma showed me, my mama showed me. This is how I do it for me.
Their chicken.
Which way will not taste right. I'm gonna show you how I clean my mother.
Oh my gosh. What is going on in this community? Chat, I don't know. I have no words. Like, what am I supposed to say to this? Like, I actually am speechless. They do a lot of things that leave me and many of us speechless. That has to be one of the craziest things I've ever seen. What is even the takeaway from this? Well, there is a takeaway, chat. There is a takeaway where the mainstream media and our academic institutions and all of social media convinces us that black people are obese because they don't have proper access to nutrition. And you know that the black demographic is the most obese demographic in America. No, it's not that they don't have access to nutrition, is that they have no self-control. In the same way that they don't have self-control when it comes to engaging with people. On the previous episode, we saw a man who was constantly black looping and saying, yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Who done that? Who done that? Who done that? It's similar. It's similar where they have violent outbreaks. It's just they have no self-control when it comes to food, and they're just gonna dump the most unhealthy, copious amounts of sugar into a drink, all this Kool-Aid, and they're just gonna create all of these new, quote-unquote, what they call inventions. And this is probably why they believe that they invented the light bulb and that Wei was Kangs. They were the ones who actually invented the phone, that actually invented the computer, actually invented high-speed rails, the airplane, the car. They're the ones who actually built it, but it's white people who stole it. Meanwhile, you see at their so-called inventions, and with their great innovative minds, what do? They create Kool-Aid concoctions where they dump fruit and Kool-Aid and copious amounts of sugar into a laundry machine. They dip sausage and Kool-Aid. Great stuff. Great inventors. We was inventors and stuff. Really, really incredible invention and innovation happening over on that side of the internet. Yeah, it's really an indicator of how the way that they are is a product of their life choices. The high homicide rates, the illiteracy rates, the obesity rates, the death rates, the incarceration rates, all of those rates that are high in the black community, that's not a product of an oogie boogie white supremacist system that is built to put them down. That's just not true. It's because of your life choices. It's because of your life choices. And the more that you can blame other people, blame white people, blame Asians, blame the system, blame past slavery, blame all of these things except your own choices, you will continue to live in squalor and filth. And this is just an example. You give these people freedom. What do they do with that freedom? They destroy their bodies. And they gloat over it. They're like, wow, look at this, flaunting. Oh, you got this Kool-Aid? Not for $20, for $10 to $12. I got you. These Kool-Aid patches. And that's what it is. So the more that they deflect from personal agency and responsibility, the more that these kind of shenanigans will continue. But I do wish the best for the black community. I do wish that they lived in safer communities, that they have achievements in society, that they do well, that they become lawyers and doctors and all of these great functioning members of society. I do wish that upon them. It's just they refuse to. And the only way by which they accept doing so is through affirmative action, DEI, preferential treatment, and lowering the standards. I don't know, if I was black, I'd find that so offensive. I'm like, why are you lowering the standards for me? I can meet those standards, and you go and meet those standards. But it's for them, it's an affirmation of their own inferiority complex, accepting the proposition that, yeah, they won't be able to achieve anything unless the bar is lowered. I think that's a miserable way to live. I don't think that's anything they're proud of either, but alas, that is the state of that side of the internet. Very interesting. So I do not condone, I do not recommend anyone eat those concoctions. They look very, very unhealthy. And on top of that, please do not wash your chicken with dishwasher soap or Clorox. Please do not do so. All right. Thank you, everyone. So we are going into our Q&A section. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell. If you're listening to Apple and Spotify, leave a 5-star review. We are answering your questions. So every week we're asking, you can ask me any questions over on X and on Instagram. So make sure to follow me over there if you aren't already. And we are taking your questions, answering your questions. We are also answering your super chats at the end of the show as well. So if you haven't gotten a chance to give your super chats in, please do so right now. We're getting to our first question. This comes from Isaac11 on Instagram. What's your biggest contention with the conservative movement? Great question, Isaac. My biggest contention with the conservative movement? I think I have two. I think one is thinking that we can have a conservative movement without Christ. And I'm not saying that you have to be Christian to be conservative per se, but Christless conservatism will be the end of American civilization and Western civilization, because the West was built on Christianity. Western civilization has always been synonymous with Christendom, and America has always been an outpost of European civilization. So America was a Christian nation, has been a Christian nation, and arguably should be a Christian nation, but it was always a Christian nation until the mid-1900s. So for the majority of America's history, until very recently, until the past few generations, America was deeply Christian in its academics, in its jurisprudence, in its political governance, in everyday society, the way that communities oriented and organized themselves. They're all deeply Christian. You know, you read the Bible, you prayed in school, all of these things. There's no such thing as separation of church and state. It's all a bogus lie. So to think that you can reclaim American conservatism and American society without Christ, I think I would say naive and short-sighted, because Christianity is such a defining factor of America that you can't have America without Christianity. So I think that's one. So the obviously lends itself to being like, oh yeah, like you could be a gay conservative. Like really? I mean, you can have those proclivities, but why would you be openly living that lifestyle? Why do we need to accept that Like that's something that we don't really necessarily need in our coalition because why? Because inevitably the country we want to move towards, we're not just differing about economic policy. Like we want actual families to form, and the LGBTQ lifestyle itself does not allow for family formation unless they go through artificial means. That's why they buy children, or that's why they groom children in our schools. So that's not something we want. But yeah, I understand coalition building, but without Christ and Christian values, conservatism is dead, in my opinion, at least in America. Now, secondly, my other contention with the conservative movement is that they don't understand politics in a broad sense. So their view of politics and history is limited to the past maybe 100 years at most, much like the left. So the left, their only frame of reference by judging anything, it's Nazis or slavery. It's racism or slavery. So it's like, okay, you disagree with me, you're a Nazi. That's their frame of reference. So the only historical events that they know is World War II, particularly Nazi Germany, and slavery in America. That's all they know. They don't think about anything else in world history. They don't think about any other cultures or countries, any other time periods in history. That's why they are so confident that America was not a Christian nation when it's so indisputably true that it was a Christian nation at its founding and until very recently. But I wish conservatives have a broader view of history and politics, because they only think that a lot of conservatives still think that freedom is the most important political virtue. But again, it's not. And the founding fathers didn't even think this either. Most of them hated democracy. They hated mass democracy. When they said liberty and freedoms, it was the freedom to do that which is good, to pursue goodness and higher knowledge, and implementing and discovering that the transcendent moral order. That's what freedom was used for. So when you think about liberal arts education, it's understanding how you leverage and exercise your liberty for the goodness of society, for your family, for your nation, and for yourself, for your eternity. That's what freedom always meant traditionally in America. We've lost that. And so when we think about freedom, they're always like, oh, like, I disagree with your, they always say this, I disagree with what you say, but I'll die defending your right to say it. The founding fathers didn't think this. The founding Americans didn't think this. How do I know this? Because they say it in their writings. They had blasphemy laws. So if you say blasphemy laws are inherently anti-American, yet you appeal to the founding of America about what Americanism is, like there's a contradiction there. Oh my God, I just did the 6-7 thing. There's a contradiction there. You have to understand history broader and deeper. And you can't just go off of these abstract principles of freedom without advocating for tangible outcomes in politics. That's what I have to say. Like, we want healthier families. We want a high trust society. We want safer streets. We want, actual good classical education. We want moral degeneracy rooted out of our cities and our country. Now, these are things that we need to move towards, and we can't just be like, yeah, but just leave me alone, because we live in a society, so that's not going to work. So I would say, broadly speaking, then the second contention is that they don't understand history as much, but in so doing, they're a little too libertarian, and a lot of conservatives are actually liberals, but they don't understand what right-wing philosophy truly means in the context of American and European history. That's my biggest contention, I would say. All right, next question. This comes from X. Villicor Cafe, Kangmin Hai. My question: what is an anime moment for you that was formative? I recall mine distinctly. The moment Gohan dropped all restraint versus Cell, and when Super Saiyan J2. Great question. There's so many formative anime moments. One that stands out to me, it might be really, really basic. There's going to be people who call me a tourist because of this. But it's when Naruto returned to the Hidden Leaf after his training with his sensei, with his mentor, and he defeated Pain, and then the village accepted him for the first time. So his whole life, he grew up outcasted and ostracized because he had the nine-tailed fox sealed inside of him. But then when he saved the Hidden Leaf village from Pain, and everyone celebrated him and accepted him, and it was just a flashback of him like, oh man, I went through so much hardship to finally get to this point of being acknowledged by my village. It was such a heartfelt moment for me. I was like, yes, Naruto, you did it. That was a really, really big moment for me. I really, really enjoyed that moment. I think another huge moment for me was Violet Evergarden, that episode in the scene where she's jumping through and running through, basically flying through the lake that the man who's, I believe it was his daughter or his wife, I think it was his wife, passed away, and he had a flashback, and he was like, wow, like, it's so beautiful. I think that moment really, really stuck out to me. It was just a very, very beautiful moment. I think also in Frieren, probably in the first episodes, it's like when Frieren was lamenting the fact that she didn't get to know Himmel the hero as much as she should have while he was alive. I think that hit really hard for me because I'm like, man, like how many times do we go through life and we have someone who passes away and we're like, man, like how we should have done better. We should have been better. We should have been more present, more intentional. My grandfather who passed away recently, I felt that way, where he passed away and it hit so hard for me where, man, I should have gotten to know him better. I should have spent more time with him. All the stories, all the wisdom that he carries, I don't have access to that anymore. I don't have, I'll never be able to talk to him again except when I go back into heaven, which praise God we'll be with each other in eternal glory in heaven. But I wasn't able to learn from him as much as I should have. I could have done so much more for him and so much regret. And I think when Frieren was crying, it's this scene right here. This is a GIF we have right here of Frieren crying. We have all the crazy, we love Frieren, but it's her just, sobbing. I think, that's another one. Let's see if I can think of any more anime moments that stuck out to me. Probably at the end of Gurren Lagann, there's like my drill is the drill that will pierce the heavens. That was really, really great. It was like a full circle moment where he was able to fulfill the legacy of his Aniki after he died. Great, great moment. Oh, Code Geass. I think Code Geass probably. Huge, huge moment where he, at the end, I think the ending was fantastic. It was superb. He gave it all. Lelouch Britannia. He gave it all to save his country and to save his friend. Really, really touching moments. I think those are some moments that really stick out. I'm trying to think of more, but I think probably Full Metal Alchemist as well. I think at the ending of Full Metal Alchemist was really, really great as well. Full Metal Alchemist is, by the way, a very, very right-wing story. A story about what it actually means to be human. Really, really great, profound story. Yeah. Those are some anime moments that really, really stick out to me, I would say. That's probably some of mine. Oh, great, man. That's such great anime out there. I have no shortage of it. Now, those are things that just kind of pop up in the top of my head. And I have also like a lot of great other animes that I like Kaguya-sama Love is War, Attack on Titan. A lot of great anime, but I think those really boom, stick out to me. Those are really impactful moments for me. Cool. Thank you guys for your questions. Do we have any super chats? All right, we have 2 super chats. Let's look at our super chats. All right, let's go. DJ Elf with a $5 super chat. Thank you. Just dropping some chips for a Korean American political commentator. Good luck from another Korean American. Let's support our own. Yes, so good. Thank you. God bless you. Oh, and also another $5 super chat from DJ Elf7. Yeonmi Park doesn't have any Asian men on her Asian American men on her YouTube show since singing with TPUSA. Neither does Lindy Lee. What do you think about this? I don't think they're like anti-Asian per se, but the reality is a lot of naturalized Asian women in America, or just Asian women in general, they don't really care much for Asian men. It is a very strange phenomena that I will probably explore deeper in a YouTube video in the future. But I don't think it's nefarious. I think it's just women in general are very, very social. I mean, we're all social creatures, but women are a lot more social and consensus-oriented. And then so whatever is popular and accepted, or what is perceived to be popular and accepted in the culture, they'll just naturally gravitate towards that because men are more naturally leaders, women are more naturally followers. And then so they see the majority of people in America are white. The beauty standards is like, oh, white males, tall, white, dark, handsome males. Okay, well, we'll just gravitate towards that. And yeah, I don't think it's nefarious in nature. I just think that they just do what their natural biology wires them to do. So it's not like they're naturally looking out, oh, we will have Asian men on our show and we will collaborate with Asian men exclusively. They're just doing what they're programmed to do, which is operate within the current zeitgeist that affords them more opportunities or views in whatever way they find plausible or feasible. So that's what I think it is. I don't think it's inherently evil or nefarious. I don't think they're trying to we're just excluding Asian men. I don't see it that way. And quite frankly, honestly, I personally am okay. Not really that okay, but I'm okay with being excluded from the broader Asian American club in America. I think they're pretentious. I think they're opportunistic. And I think they are actually detached from their Asian heritage that they keep claiming is their own, because they can't speak a lick of their native tongue. They're really terrible at it. They dishonor their parents by doing all this LGBTQ nonsense. And I don't know. I don't really care for it. So this whole Asian American political coalition that's building in America, I do care about it insofar as it affects me and my family. But I find most people who are super involved with it, the whole Asian representation nonsense, to be very, very self-serving and pretentious and pompous and sanctimonious. So I don't really care so much for their approval, but it'd be nice. It'd be nice if I could have a conversation with them and they don't just ostracize me because I am Christian and I am conservative. And the only kind of Asian Christians that they'll accept is those who parrot the same talking points as the left and, get in line, which I refuse to do because I believe that the word of God is more important, and I believe that eternal truths are more important than lying to people and having selective outrage for things, where you see these Asian American bobolibs who really, they cry and they weep for leftist anarchists, but they say nothing. They say nothing about Koreans who are beat to death or killed by black people. Why? Because it's black people doing it. And they in their leftist ideology and framework, they're not allowed to criticize black people because they don't want to be racist. But okay, one of your own, you claim to beat your chest up. You beat your chest about how much you love Asians. You want to protect Asians from crime and violence. And it's okay, you have nothing to say when Asians are killed and brutalized in the streets because the perpetrator is black. I find that to be ridiculous. And it's you're just a scum. You're just a scumbag. And I have no tolerance for that. Either you stand for Asian Americans or you don't. And clearly you don't. Your priority is first and foremost other groups of people than Asian Americans. So don't claim to be the representation and the spokespeople for the Asian American community. Just don't do that. Okay. That about does it for our episode for today. We went a little long again. I promise next episode will be shorter, but I hope you enjoyed this episode where we talked about many things, especially the primary elections in America and the Korean elections. We will continue our journey through American politics and Korean politics and cultural discourse online next week at Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell. Do all those great things to help support the channel, help support the show. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, make sure to leave a 5-star rating. And you can listen over there as well. We upload there, show episodes there as well. In the meantime, God bless you guys. May the Lord keep you. And always remember and focus on our end goal of restoring faith, identity, and civilization in the east to the west. We love truth. We love goodness. We love beauty. We keep fighting for those things as patriots in our homes. All right. God bless you guys. See you again back here Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern. Peace, guys.